It is slutty arse.
It's like what is that man's talking about a slutty arse for? What is
Why is only his arse slutty?
it's a good question. Dad, you know, some people's arses are just inherently whorish. You know, why can't I hear that? Oh, it's one of those ones. The track is just really low to start.
Low tracks.
Low tracks, indeed.
I don't need to be on this screen.
Just trying to get our background music for the stream sorted, keeping us right.
Hunter, I was actually saying that I think it's a very pleasant shade of purple. Yeah. I find it soothing.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice shade of purple as well. It's a little bit muted compared to my shade of purple. That sounded like I was comparing. It's like I got the better purple. I don't.
It's more of a pastel.
Yeah, a pastel purple. Yeah.
Now, me liking it and finding it soothing is not a reason to keep it. Only keep it if you like it. But I want to tell you that I do like it.
A horse arsehole is like a clown's pocket. Okay, I need to.
Just full of handkerchiefs.
Okay, I was going to say I kind of need an explanation. You're just coming right in.
Just
there
keep pulling them out.
It's like, you know, loose, isn't it? Oh fucking hell! Okay. What a way to describe it.
I don't think a clown's pocket is loose. I think clowns are very tight pockets, and I'll tell you why.
Right.
You think that they're loose because they're big, because clowns wear baggy pants.
Right.
But they have to be tight, otherwise the napkin, the handkerchief bit wouldn't work.
Oh yeah, true.
So
you're telling me their clusy is real tight?
I love a tight clusy. I won't. I'm not even joking. I love a tight clusy. Put that on my tombstone. Loved a tight clusy.
Loved a tight clusy. I was just.
He died how he lived, loving tight clusy.
I like the feeling.
I said clusy. Now, the quote that you have for me is not what I said, but it is true. So I let it stay.
I can't do two somewhere. I go, wait. I also just reading
it's still a true thing that I've said many times. It's just not what I just said. I said I love a tight clusy. Clown pussy.
Yeah, clusy. I like the fact that also just apparently the theory of the baggy pants equals a loose arsehole. I did not know that was a common misconception. But they have big enough to accommodate the handkerchief. How big is it?
There we go.
There you go.
That's it. That's the one.
I'm a little bit sick, yeah. You know what the worst part is, right, Hunter? I had like jalapenos for dinner today, thinking of stuff like, oh yeah, I'll flush out all my phlegm, make myself stream ready. It just loaded up my whole nose of phlegm and never came out.
It sounds like you had what I had like a couple of weeks before you did.
Right, yeah.
Just this awful nasty flu. And I'm still, like, I'm over it now, but I'm still finding that my throat isn't right.
Yeah.
Because there's no dick in it. No, it's not right because, like, if I talk quite a bit, I find that the next day it's shot. So my hope is that I'm okay now.
Yeah.
But we'll see tomorrow if I have a voice or not when I try to stream.
It's one of those things where, like, I want to... Oh man, I want to see if I go. I plan on streaming this week because I missed out like a bunch of streams last week because I randomly just decided to contract it and it pissed me off. Because I wanted to be streaming, and anytime I plan something and it doesn't work out, I'm like, go fucking damn it, you know. So, but this whole month is going to be like that for me. I can't really promise anything this month.
Yeah, and then next month you'll probably be a bit hit and miss as you get settled into a new normal.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So what, you're going to be streaming more of the Infinite Wealths?
Yes, that is the plan. I mean, the plan is basically not to start. If I'm streaming, if I'm streaming games, it will be Infinite Wealth. That's it. Oh my goodness! Thank you very much. The 10 months, Love of China. My ability to say words there was starting to fail me. Oh god, I'm shaking the camera and everything. Thank you very much, Stu. Massively appreciate it. Hope you're keeping well, 'cause I'm telling you, you're looking well. I still do it, folks. I might sound like groggy as a weird, damp basement. But you know, I can still.
I was so interested to see where that sentence was going to go, and it didn't go where I thought it would, and I loved it.
I almost went real dangerous with it. I almost said a real damp basement in Austria, but that just has a bad connotation to it. Yeah, you're kind of like, I wish I had just left it as it was now.
Yeah.
Oh god. What is it with that one country like fostering two of the most evil men in the world?
I mean, it's two of the most evil men in the world that we know of. There's probably more evil people that we've never even heard about.
True.
Which is why I love Behind the Bastards so much.
Yeah, Behind the Bastards is good for that. Great podcast, yeah. Really good podcast. Not Gunther, Andrew. Gunther.
As you know, I don't follow the dub E at the moment. But I came across a YouTube compilation of is her name Samantha Irvin, their ring announcer?
Yes.
She's incredible.
Oh yeah,
she is fantastic. I was like, I don't know who half the people you're announcing are. Like, I know them, I've heard the name, I know, but I don't follow it. I don't watch the TV. And she does such a good job of helping inform you who the person is by how she announces them. Instead of saying Gunther, going Gunta, I'm like, that's fucking genius.
Yeah.
Have you heard the way she announces Chelsea Green?
No, I don't think I have.
Do you know Chelsea Green?
Yes. The hot mess.
Yes. So I'm going to do a really bad job of conveying to you what she does. But instead of like being like, and coming to the ring, it's Chelsea Green, like you would for any other wrestler, like she does for most other wrestlers. She goes, I'm coming to the ring, it's Chelsea Green. Like she does this fucking high-pitched, like, oh, she's that girl voice, and it's fucking incredible.
I've seen her do Cody's really well.
I haven't seen her do Cody's. I've seen her do Gunther's, which is amazing. Have you seen her do Gunther's?
Yes, I've seen her doing Gunther's as well.
I've seen her do Reigns and Chelsea Green, and I saw her do one for Rhea and Dom, where she just like hyped up Rhea and gave Dom nothing. It was like, Rhea, Ripley, and Dominic Mysterio. And I was just like, yes, put stank on it.
Oh, Rhea Ripley, Jesus Christ. That woman's breaking sapphic hearts across the fucking world.
Not just sapphic, let me tell you. Like, what a absolute specimen. That ass though. That
ass,
back.
Man.
The face.
Oh,
the
man.
smile.
But like she's so, or where like her fiance is
husband? I thought they were married now.
Oh, are they married now?
I could be wrong. It could be fiance.
But yeah, it's your lad from AEW with Black.
With the
Buddy
most
Matthews.
fucking chiseled torso I think I've ever seen in wrestling.
Yeah, Buddy Matthews just more abs than brain cells. Like, it's wild. Just absurd.
Andrew says he could take him. I could take him around the back and suck that dick.
Oh my goodness. She's fucking suffering. Will forever be angry. She's not a lesbian. I'm a fucking gay man. I just think she should be a lesbian.
I mean, we don't know the fullness of what her deal is. We just know that she has a male presenting fiance and or husband. But I am agender. I don't think gender is a thing. The body that I've got, I'm okay with it because it functions mostly. If I found out Rhea Ripley was a lesbian, I probably would transition just for the chance. just to put myself in the running at like the 0.0000001%, I'd be like, it's worth it. Let's go. Got to be in it to win it. You got to be in it to win it to get in it.
Yeah, she is fucking stunning. Like,
beautiful.
It's just the way she pins other competitors. It's just incredibly horny.
Oh, you mean the way she fucking scissors them?
She fucking folds them like a pretzel, and just you can just see her sometimes.
She bites them.
She see her bouncing sometimes ever so slightly. And you just know you're doing that on purpose. You know, fine, right? You're trying to wind everyone up.
Yeah.
Transition for the muscle mommy.
So welcome everyone tonight to Player versus Dominic Mysterio, where we all wish that she would be our mommy.
Yeah, Jesus. Oh God.
I was talking to Teapot Shark about wrestling at one point, because Teapot Shark thinks that, quite rightly, Rhea Ripley is the most stunning specimen to ever appear on this planet.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, fantastic. I've not seen a lot of her work because I watch AEW instead.
Yeah.
And I was trying to be like, oh, you like the women, the muscular women. Let me show you some from AEW. And I was like, there's no one on that level though. There's no one that is just gonna make you give everything up.
No, there isn't.
And spread yourself in that same way.
Like
there's attractive people, there's beautiful people, but not in that same way.
But like,
not in that same way.
The most like toned and absolute muscle mommy that was there for a while was Jade Cargill, and she's now in WWE anyway. She's now there anyway.
Yeah.
Chris Statlander, I do like Chris Statlander a lot. I do like
Chris Statlander is very attractive.
Yeah.
And is in great shape.
Yeah.
But doesn't have quite the same muscle physique. Is a bit leaner.
Yeah.
There's not as much definition.
Yeah.
And I want that definition.
China's
I mean,
blasphemy pass right there. Can't argue with it though.
Yeah, China. One thing that I do like about that I've noticed in the past like 5 years, it feels like, is that China is starting to get her flowers again.
Which
now,
is
it's
great.
too fucking late. It's too fucking late.
Yeah.
But I am glad that respect is starting to be put on that name again.
Yeah.
Because China was a fucking trailblazer.
Yeah.
Like you can very clearly see the China influence in Rhea Ripley specifically. Which I'm a lot more comfortable with than seeing the China influence in Stephanie McMahon when she wore that weird China ring gear.
Yeah,
which just felt strange.
That was uncomfortable, especially when you know what the reality was with the backstage like relationship and politics with their relationship specifically. Given that like China was in a relationship with Paul Levesque for a while, and then suddenly,
I'm just going to stop you there and say that I don't want to hear anybody shaming sex work of any kind. So we're going to put a stop to that.
No,
carry on.
But like, it's one of those things where. And then suddenly it's like, oh, he just dumps her to go Stephanie. I'm kind of like, oh man. And then suddenly Steph is like really agitated by it, and there's speculation that led to her being fucking like fired from the company. It's like, that's fucking shit. That's fucking dog shit.
It's tough because I think you have to assume that Paul Levesque is aware how large a part he played in the trajectory of China's life.
Because he took her out of a random Gold's Gym, if I remember correctly, and begged Vince to like let her work with him. And him and Sean literally used the line, "If you don't let us use her, WCW will."
Yeah. Like completely changed the trajectory of her life, and then completely changed it again because of how weird the breakup stuff was.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the weight of that feels like, but I am glad that more people are like wrestlers in interviews and stuff are talking about her again, because I guess they're allowed to now, or at least the WWE talent. And there was maybe a bit of a hush on it before.
I think there definitely was
China's
a hush, yeah.
in the realm of like muscle mommies in professional wrestling, China's kind of the OG. If there was someone really doing it before China, they weren't doing it at the same like level.
No, not really. Like, I mean, they tried to. They had WCW has always tried to like fucking copy that bullshit and tried to do their own version. And it was a girl called Asia.
There was
very creative. There really wasn't any sort of strong women's division outside of the Japan leagues, though. Realistically, when it came to North American wrestling, we didn't really see like a really good North American division of women's wrestling post China outside WWE until TNA. TNA then stepped up and ended up crafting
with the
phenomenal knockouts. Yes.
Yeah. You look at Gail Kim.
Yeah.
Who I know did get a run in WWE, but really didn't, if we're honest.
Really fucking didn't, no. She done her best work in TNA.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There was a bunch of women that were in TNA that got brought to WWE that never got a chance to do the kind of work they did in TNA. You even look at someone like Awesome Kong.
Yep.
None of her WWE stuff was ever on the level of anything she did.
She's done like
elsewhere.
3 matches as Karma, and that was it. It was like a Royal Rumble appearance, and there was 2 other appearances, and then
same in AEW.
Same AEW, and she was gone.
Now, some of that was
pregnancy.
Personal reasons.
And WWE was pregnancy stopped her first run because as it would.
And in AEW, was it that she was working on Glow?
Working on Glow at the time, filming Glow at the time, and producing Glow at the time. And
I don't know why that show got cancelled. That show was fucking incredible.
Netflix are shit. Netflix cancel everything. They literally do just cancel everything. Bull Nakano and Alundra were before China. You're 100% right, Andrew, but their best work.
Alundra Blaze is probably the closest thing to what I'm thinking of, probably more so than Bull Nakano.
Well, their best work was all done in Japan anyway, because even Alundra Blaze's work inside WWE was like not really prominent, not really there. And it was one of the frustrations that led her to go to WCW to try and find a better outlet for her work. Spoilers, it only got worse because WCW never had a women's division. Or it did, but it wasn't. Fuck, you thought it was bad in WWE back in the day. It was 10 times worse in WCW. So like a lot of the best work was done in Japan for that stuff during the Yoshi leagues and stuff.
I mean, are you watching WWE at the minute?
I'm like aware of it.
Yeah, like you know kind of what's going on.
I know what's going on at a distance. I don't watch the matches though.
Because by all accounts, their women's division is probably the women's division these days, and it's incredible to think that compared to where they were 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, their women's divisions came on leaps and fucking bounds, and that's been amazing. It's a shame that the AEW's division is kind of just an afterthought still at the minute. Even right now, it still feels like it's an afterthought. You get some great stuff with Tony Storm.
There's good character work.
There's good character work, but you just don't get the matches.
None of it is given enough time to develop into storylines that lead to good matches.
Yeah.
Like you look at good character work, you've got Timeless Tony Storm, you've got Julia Hart is doing great character work.
Yeah.
Chris Statlander is a fan favorite. Like there's
when Britt Baker's around, because she's not been around for some time.
I've heard that they're just not using Britt Baker, and I'm like, that's so weird because she was one of TK's like go-tos for a long time. It's a frustrating thing, I think, is that you look at it and on paper you go, that's a really strong women's division potentially, and it just isn't given the time to. The word is that Mercedes Moné's
come in as well. Saraya's in there. I heard the reason why they're not using Britt Baker is because they went so hard on her for 3 years that they were like
needed to cool her off.
Needed to cool her off. Let her fucking kind of just step back a bit, let the other girl shine for a while.
And then she can come in for a big
She
return.
comes in, big return, big breath of fresh air. It's going to fucking hit hard because, like, her shit was really fucking good. Her shit was really fucking good.
I wonder, do you bring her back with Mercedes coming in? Do you make that the first Mercedes feud? And you have Britt be like the gatekeeper to be like, you think you can come in here into my women's division? And you can have a whole thing where then Mercedes is like, well, from what I hear, you've been fucking gone, so why do I have to measure up to you? Do we feud there? Mercedes goes over. Britt has to work her way back up.
See, the only reason I'd be against that there is because Yuri Kent did that with Saraya. That was literally Saraya.
I see. I haven't seen.
That was literally the storyline with Saraya.
Okay, fair enough.
And that's the only reason I'd say no to that is because that's already been done it very directly. Netflix will just cancel a fucking Pristine show.
Although even though it got cancelled and is unfinished, I still would recommend Glow. Like, it's still a really good. I think it got 3 seasons in the end. It's still a great 3 seasons, and it's then really interesting to watch the documentary about the wrestling company that it was based off of and be like, oh, those are the people the actors were playing an exaggerated version of.
Yeah.
Fascinating company.
Yeah, fuck it. It's got, there's actually some really good documentaries, like you said, worth looking at, especially considering it was like the premier women's division or women's wrestling show in America, but this did not have the same exposure that WCW and WWE had. Oh yeah, WCW was like, oh, you can fight Sherry if you want. It's like, cool.
Thanks.
Me and Sherry was Sherry Mattel, or I can't remember her last name now. Names elude me.
But like, you look at WWE now, where it's like, yep, there is a women's Royal Rumble every year. There is a women's Elimination Chamber match.
Yep.
There is, I think they do women's Money in the Bank as well.
Yep, women's Money in the Bank as well. Yep.
And it's like, okay, you're making it clear that the divisions, at least in theory, are equal. There's going to be times where there's storylines weighted more in one division or the other. But when I compare that to like the Divas era, oh my god,
fucking hell,
awful. For me, I personally, I find the Divas era of WWE women's wrestling more egregious than the fucking Attitude Era bra and panties match stuff. Because the Attitude Era bra and panties match stuff was awful, but honest. Whereas the Divas Era stuff was just bad and was basically the Attitude Era, but they were trying to pretend that it was, no, they're really wrestling.
It's like you give their match a minute and a half. A minute and a half,
and you're exclusively hiring models and cheerleaders that have no wrestling experience.
Yeah. In fact, if they have wrestling experience elsewhere, they're never getting pushed because you look down on that.
Yeah. Oh, so fucking annoying. I find the Divas division absolutely infuriating, and I was like, I can't blame anyone in the crowd for being like, women's match, time to go get snacks, time to go to the toilet, because it's like, it was that bad.
Yeah.
Even watching, like, I used to have a group of guys that I would watch like every pay-per-view with, because we all worked in a pub together, so we would just do a lock-in on the nights of the pay-per-view and get a big projector down and have a fucking great time. And we were there going like, the women's division needs work, it needs to be pushed, we want to see good women's content. But it was so bad that it was like, oh, here you've got, I don't even remember who half of them fucking were, one of the Bellas versus Alicia Fox for the Divas title. And it was like, yeah, this is the time to refill drinks, this is the time to get snacks. Whereas now the women's division, you're like, no, I'm more interested in that than half the matches on the men's roster.
Yeah, because the men's roster matches sometimes are just kind of like, yep, same old, seen this before, nothing special. Where like the women's match comes, okay, they're going to do something fucked up or something awesome because like they're actually given opportunities to do so now, and there's a lot more gas in that tank.
I mean, I have like absolutely nothing against Randy Orton, but I've seen him wrestle everyone there is at 5 different pay-per-views each.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, we're doing John Cena versus Randy Orton, and I was like, listen, this is like the 50th WrestleMania where that's been the main event, and there haven't even been that many WrestleManias, so I don't know how the fuck you're making me feel this way. And then it was like they were trying to recreate the great rivalries like Rock and Austin, but if you look at Rock and Austin, it's like, yeah, they had great feuds, but they only had like 3 main feuds.
Yeah.
They just lasted a while each one, and then they would have a little break and come back to it. Whereas Randy Orton, because he's been there so long, it's like there's no one new for you to feud with until someone new comes in, and then you'll feud with them immediately, and then we're back to square one.
Yeah.
I don't need to see it. I don't need to see the same old.
I don't need to ever, and it's one at this point where like I don't like even in AEW I can't sit there and I'm like, okay, a pay-per-view, we've got 8 matches. How many women's matches? 1 match. And it's the one title match. Like I watched Revolution, like I was just before we came on today, I watched Revolution from last night, Sting's last ever show. Great pay-per-view. But
answer me one question. Because I saw that he was having his last match. And I saw that it was a tag match.
Yeah.
And I just want to know, did Darby come out as Surfer Sting?
No.
Boo.
You want to know why?
Boo.
You want to know why? Because his fucking son did.
Oh, Sting's son came out as Surfer Sting?
One of his sons came out as Surfer Sting, and one came out as Wolfpack NWO Sting.
Okay.
So you had like Wolfpack NWO Sting and Surfer Sting, and then actual Sting,
Icon Sting,
and the Icon Sting, and it was great because like the music hits right, and you can hear the sort of like the fucking Winter's Coming music that he came out onto, and his first son comes out, and it's proper like Americana Surfer Sting, you know, like red, white, and blue jumpsuit and fucking face paint and stuff. And like, is that Surfer Sting? Oh, it's his son. Okay. And then another one, the Wolfpack NWO Sting comes out, like pure red, like everything red overalls, everything red face paint. Like, so says, all right, a Wolfpack Sting, cool. And then suddenly the camera goes to the widest shot in the building. Oh, here's
Did he come in on the
fucking Seek and Destroy by Metallica hits, and I'm like, fucking right. It's like, and he just walks out, and I'm like, what? They got Seek and Destroy Metallica for his entrance? Oh, I literally popped a nut. I was like, yes, fuck him up.
Tony Khan quite rightly gets some criticism.
Yes,
there are definitely areas where Tony Khan is not great. There are also areas where Tony Khan is really good.
Yeah.
And anyone that says like Tony Khan is just like a terrible like 0 out of 10 booker is talking out their arse. One thing that he is really good for is he really respects the old talent. I think especially the ones that he was a fan of when he was a kid, and that's understandable. But make it like it sounds to me like he really went out of his way to make sure that Sting's last match was what Sting wanted it to be, whatever that looked like.
It was very violent.
So I have seen the clip of Darby just deciding he doesn't want to be alive anymore.
Yeah,
the glass. I've seen
that glass has shredded his whole back. It was bloody. It was bad.
Cry me a river.
God. But yeah, like Metallica's Seek and Destroy just hits, and I'm just like, I wasn't even ready. I wasn't even aware it's going to be that hype, and then next thing you know, it just pans. I'm like, it's like I'm not even a big Metallica fan, but just that song is just pure fucking hype, and I'm just like, oh, I want him to fucking kill someone.
It goes to show the difference that entrance music makes. I don't feel like you're right. I'm being shown a massive bar of chocolate.
A massive bar.
In the post.
That is fucking huge.
That is a large bar of chocolate.
That is
Is that like 2 feet long?
Maybe.
850 grams. Delicious.
It's fucking huge. That's absurd. That is an absurd amount of chocolate. I assume it's for Laura to get well soon. Well, hope she has got well.
She's doing better. Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know where I've been for like a month, it's just been a month of endless, like, one after another shitty times that I won't go into too much detail, but Laura wasn't well. She's doing better. She's improved, on the right track. And yeah, someone appears to have sent her a massive bar of chocolate for that reason. Laura? Who's it from? Oh. What was I going to say? I was going to say something. Oh yeah, entrance music. I don't think that overall entrance music is as strong as it used to be. I think there's some people that have absolutely fantastic entrance music.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of people that just have really mid-forgettable entrance music. Whereas it used to be that, like, if you were watching the Rumble, as soon as the first two bars of someone's music popped, you knew exactly who it was and you got hype.
Yeah, you got.
Whereas now half the time I'm like, I hear music go and I'm like, who's this? Oh, okay, there they are.
Man, very, very kind words from Hunter. Absolute sweetheart. Yeah, entrance music, man. Just like, what I'm loving about AEW is that they're finally forcing, because even though WWE started to do it again, they're forcing people to license music for big moments again. Because AEW is where there's a big moment going on, they fucking just, like, Tony Khan's like, fuck it, get my checkbook, we're going to make this work. Like for all in London, when Saraya came out, because it was a homecoming show, 80,000 plus people, they had Queen. They had it like they go out another One Bites of Dust for Queen, just for like Saraya to come out. I think it's like everyone bites another One Bites of Dust. I can't remember the exact. It was a fucking Queen song just for her entrance. It's like they make the moments happen, and there's just, I don't know, man. I just wanted to punch a wall when the fucking Seek and Destroy came on, because I was just that hyped. I was like, this is great. I want to kill him.
There's some wrestlers that I think need, like, not licensed music for big events, just need new themes for every week.
Fuck, that would be wild.
MJF needs different music.
Oh, he's terrible. He's not around at the minute, so he might come back with new music.
He needs to, because that, like, royalty-free YouTube library stuff that he's come out to for the past fucking 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
that's not the one anymore.
No,
it was fine when you were like the young guy at the bottom of the mid card. You're not that guy now.
Yeah, you're better.
Hangman Adam Page is another one that uses YouTube library royalty free music.
Well, actually, his is actually custom composed for him.
Maybe it's changed then, but like, from what I knew,
it's on Spotify, and like,
okay, from what I knew, it was originally just like royalty-free library music. Who else needs to do music? There's some people that have like really simple music, but it still works, like Ricky Starks.
Yeah, which like it's just his pops. You kind of like, all right, I'm hyped for this. It's cool. His works really well. I really like Eddie Kingston's.
I remember how Eddie's goes.
It's
yeah. I've got it in my head. Yeah. I like Eddie's. Eddie's is good. You know exactly who it is when it comes out.
Yeah. Of course, like Moxley's rocking licensed music. He's got Wild Thing coming on, so when he comes out, Wild Thing plays.
I'm not like up to date with AW, as you know. I'm on like March 2022 or some shit. Doesn't seem like people are thinking as well of Moxley as they used to. It reads to me like people are getting a bit of fatigue with him because he's been doing the same thing kind of for the duration of AEW.
So once he gets full Blackpool Combat Club, he becomes more violent again, and he is one of those ones where he does almost a lot of his better work at the minute in Japan. just because you don't see him as often there. Where like he's kind of like one of the AEW, just, you know, he's the mainstays, so he's there. He's a grafter, but like he's a grafter who grafts, and he's fine with grafting. And like when you put him into a world championship program or a big title program, he still pulls it out of the bag. But he can. But he can,
I'm not questioning the quality of his work.
Yeah,
I mean more like the character side of things. That people are like, you've been this guy.
Yeah. And
it hasn't really changed. And as you know yourself, if you stick with one thing too long in wrestling, it gets stagnant.
Yeah. He grafts. His graft is kind of like, depends. Like when he's doing the Blackpool Combat Club stuff, it's like a little bit more reserved. He pulls back a little bit. He lets like Claudio and stuff shine a little bit more. Like him and Claudio's work together is really fucking good. But like he's I think it's one of those ones at the minute he kind of sits. I think it's one of the ones he kind of sits inside of at the minute where he is with Blackpool Combat Club, where he fills the card out really well. He has really intense, brutal matches, and they're fun, but he's not necessarily like. I think right now he's in cruise control, because I think it's one of those ones where like he is the guy that's there to keep the kind of keep the doors running or keep the business going while the main event stuff happens. I think he's just filling that right now, and I think he's just in cruise control right now, where I know like if he needs to do a bigger program, he can pull it out, and I think people are okay with that now. I think when people see Moxley, they're kind of like, all right, he's kind of in his cruise control moment right now. Blackpool Combat Club.
Because it's one of the criticisms that is levied against Tony Khan, which I think is pretty fair, that he is more interested in great matches than great stories. Which I think is accurate. He has pulled off great stories. I don't think it's fair to say that he hasn't. But he always seems more interested in like what's going to be a great match, who's going to put on a good show, than what story are these guys going to tell over the course of several weeks. That seems to be where he is a little flatter. So it makes sense that he works so well with guys like Bryan Danielson, like Moxley, you know, people that are there to put on good matches, that are there to graft, and who enjoy the story side of things and think it's important, but it's not why they love it.
It's one of those ones as well where I've noticed it's with him at the minute and like Jericho, any of the ones that kind of started AEW and kind of got like its first year off the ground, they have all slunk right down the card. Likes of them.
I mean, Jericho needs to retire and go to prison, but aside from him, because like for me, he's in that stage of his career where it's getting a bit sad.
Yeah.
He's in that Ric Flair stage of his career. For me, Jericho is at the stage of his career that Ric Flair was when Ric Flair was in Evolution, but he's not playing the role that Ric Flair played. He's trying to play the role that like Triple H played. It's like, no. You're the elder statesman at this point, and you need to accept that that's the role you should be playing.
Yeah. Like he still thinks he's a rock star. Like he still acts like it. And I'm like, just go do your cruise and have that fantasy there. Don't bring that into here.
I've seen the footage from the cruise. He should stay there. He should stay on the boat in international waters.
Yeah. Like stay on the boat. Give us a bit of a break. Even I'm getting fed up of seeing you. And Jesus, just fucking hell. Fucking hell. No, I can't. But like, yeah, like it's hard to say. It's hard to say where we'll see like AEW goes at this point. Like, I mean, I watched Revolution today, literally on the run up there, as I was saying. Good show overall. Really fun. Not a lot of lows. Like some mids and some highs. It's like I wouldn't say it was my favorite show ever, or even in like my top 5 AEW shows, but like the Sting match was definitely like really great. Like the Sting match
probably
was
the highlight, I would guess.
Yeah, was the highlight. That was the highlight. Was the Sting match,
which it should be. You know what I mean? It's Sting's last match. It should be the highlight of the show. I've heard that people have enjoyed it. I've heard that people enjoyed Sting's last match. And then you compare it to like Ric Flair's final last ever Ultimate Super no more last match end of the road thing.
Yeah.
Where he, I think, was medically dead for several minutes.
Apparently he had a heart attack during that match. Apparently that man who was told, don't have the match, you might die, literally did die. He's literally 78 or something, did die in the ring at one point and come back to life. And everyone's just kind of like going, everyone who watched it was just like, I knew it was going to be a train wreck, but why?
But it is like, for me, that is I understand. Ric Flair has like 5,000 alimonies to pay.
Yes.
He is, he needs the money. But like, know when it's your time to buy out.
Yeah.
Which it does seem like the newer generations are better at, because it also seems like people are deliberately having shorter careers now.
Yeah.
People are like, I'm going to get in and I'm going to retire in my 40s and do something else.
Yep.
And it's like, yep, that's the smart thing to do.
Yep. And it's one of those ones where they're like, I'm not going to spend all of my money on limousines and all bullshit I don't need.
Cocaine.
And cocaine.
A lot of cocaine.
I'm gonna just have a simple nest egg and live off that there while I go pursue other career endeavors that will pay me monthly as well.
Invest my money. Because it cracks me up that like some of the old guard are like, these young guys now, they don't go out and party, they don't do anything, they just like sit in the locker room
playing
and
video
talk
games
to each other and then play video games and go back to the hotel. And it's like, because they're looking after themselves.
Yeah.
Because have you seen anyone from your era try to walk?
Yeah.
They can't.
They're
Can't
like,
do it.
They have a session with DDP at some point just to make sure they don't die.
Yeah. Like, have you looked at Paul White standing still?
It's bad.
It's like, when you see photos of people that have very clearly photoshopped themselves to be thinner and there's that weird curve?
Yeah.
His leg does that.
Yeah. The reaction Hunter put is fucking accurate as well. Especially, I think that was in the Ric Flair bit. Oh, God.
I have thought, I'm going to try and get us away from PVW now.
Right.
But still talk about wrestling. I have thought before that there must be, and I just haven't found it, a good wrestling TTRPG. I know they exist. I know wrestling TTRPGs are out there.
Yeah.
But I've never come across one that looks like it feels really good. That looks like it fulfills the fantasy. But then I'm like, I don't know what the fantasy would be. How would it play? Because it would just be a series of one-on-one combats. But it seems like it should be a thing.
Yeah. Good being the key is right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like... Because like when you look at wrestling, what makes up wrestling, what makes it work? It's like the pageantry of the promo, the entrance.
Which not every player is going to be able to replicate.
No, the entrances which are crafted, but then a wrestling entrance is meant to be a repeatable, manufacturable, popping moment.
It's meant to be the same every time, so the audience can join in on the excitement.
Where if you're at a table, how do you make that like make sense and feel like it works? Like you said, the combat has to be typically one-on-one unless you're doing tag team or if you're doing greater group dynamic. But then at that point, it's like all your combat always is one-on-one with the game master, or is it one-on-one with the players? Like that's PvP at that point. And then like
it feels like it would veer very quickly more into like a fantasy wrestling league.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, it feels like it just ends up being like the My GM mode.
Yeah.
I can't figure out how you would do it in a way that would be really satisfying, unless you were doing a one-on-one game. I could see it working there if both people were big wrestling fans and ran it a certain way, but I don't see how you do it like you could do it with 2 players if they were a tag team.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose you could have some fun mechanics with like tagging in and out.
Yeah.
But as soon as you hit like 3 players or more, I suppose there's trios stuff, but you know what I mean? Like it gets harder to keep it cohesive.
Like it's like one of those things where like there's just, it's almost easier if you were to create like wrestling classes in other RPGs and put them into the RPG universes you're playing in, rather than it would be to create an actual TTRPG just purely about wrestling.
Yeah, I've seen people do that, like make wrestling subclasses or subclasses based on specific wrestlers even.
Yeah.
It does feel like that's easier.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, I think about it too, and I'm kind of like, I don't even know how the fuck you go about that. Like, how the fuck do you go about that?
I can see a bunch of different ways that you could go about designing one and making a wrestling TTRPG. But it's like Hunter says, where I run into a wall is like, I can see a bunch of ways to do it. I don't know that it would be that good. I don't know that people would be like, oh yeah, this is great. They would be, it feels like it would be more like, oh yeah, that does replicate some of that experience. Yeah. And I had a good time, but I'm not like rushing to do it again.
No. And like, again, so the big thing that works really well for wrestling, the reason why wrestling is great, is that when you're not doing the promos and being caught up in the pageantry of the actual moments of the stories, it's the fluidity of literally the combat. There's the literal moment of like, is he going to reverse that hold? Is he going to be able to escape that submission? Is he going to be able to pull off this dive? And is he going to crash and burn when he tries to do that dive? And failed dice rolls could be fun for that, especially when it comes to dives, because the unpredictability of like you being able to land the move would be cool, and adds an ebb and a flow to the combat that makes things feel very like fluid. However, when you're not doing high risk, high stakes things, how do you like do that well? How do you make that flow? How do you get both the player and the viewers? Because I imagine there are probably a few people maybe at the table, because maybe here's an idea, maybe the fucking thing is about the show, and like every session builds towards the show, and it's almost kind of like the sessions build towards like a pay-per-view, like normal things like that could be a thing. And so obviously there'd be like multiple storylines going on with multiple different players and doing multiple different factions, multiple different stories, and that could be your thing, is like your eventual payoff for every like, you know, every like 4 sessions or so builds up to the show.
I've also seen games where not every player plays the same thing. So I did an article for The Gamer I'm not sure when, months ago now, about like good TTRPGs if you wanted to do superhero stuff. And one of the ones that I found was that it's like a 3-player game with no GM or MC. And one person plays the superhero, one person plays the supervillain, and the third person plays the city.
Right.
So you each one has like different tools and different moves of things they do, and it's not so much about like, oh, we're all going on adventure. It's just like we're all telling a story and we're all in charge of different parts of the story. So you could do something like that, where it's like one person is the wrestler and maybe another person plays their manager mouthpiece, and maybe, do you know what I mean? Like you could try and split it up that way, that it's like, okay, you all have different roles in the story, but it's then like, okay, well, how do you make it fun for everyone? Because the way that would end up working, I think, is that it's like, okay, we're now doing the promo stuff, so it's mostly the manager that's talking. So it's like the spotlight is on one player, and then the match started and the spotlight shifts to the other player, which is fine. And you can still have each, like, the wrestler who isn't a great talker can still chip in during the talking segment. The heel manager can interfere with the match during the wrestlers, like you can still do stuff. But at that point, it's like, that's such a specific game where it's like, okay, not only are you looking for players who want to play a wrestling TTRPG? You're then also looking for 2 players, one of whom wants to play the manager. And that they're basically kind of, for it to work with a mouthpiece manager, going to be a heel team. Like, you know what I mean? It gets so specific. I don't know.
It's one of those ones I think about that to some extent as well, and I'm kind of like, how do you then parse out the actions if that was the case? So because we know, right, managers in wrestling, they're not necessarily just like, you know, completely fucking just mouthpieces. They're also active elements inside a match, but you can't always go around and then have the manager interfere every fucking round, because that's going to break the flow of the match. And also technically in a scenario that would get caught too fast if they kept doing that every fucking round. So then how do you give that manager, the player manager in a match scenario, enough viability in the match to feel like their actions, even when not directly interfering with the match, or like feel like they're actively adding to that experience as well? Because like,
rather than taking away from it.
Do you like give them like, does the manager become like able to do buffs and stuff? Like, I mean, you able to buff up your wrestler and stuff, maybe give them like a +2 to their fucking roll or something.
Like we've seen moments where the manager like gets the crowd hyped, and then that impacts the match. I think, like I say, I think there's lots of ways you could do it, and there's lots of things you could do with it. It's just that when I try to think about what it looks like at the end, I'm like, 1, I still don't know that it's going to be equally fun for everyone playing. And 2, what you've then made is so specific that there's going to be like 4 people in the world that go, yes, that's the game for me. Yeah.
Like we love wrestling, but we know that weirdly there's not a really massive demand for wrestling TTRPGs, I guess.
It's so interesting to me that there's not more. I mean, there definitely is crossover between TTRPG fans and wrestling fans, but I always think there should be more. Like, it just feels like 2 mediums that would attract the same sort of person.
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of people probably have realized now, but maybe didn't realize, like, wrestling fans are fucking huge geeks.
Yeah.
Like, fucking huge geeks.
Certainly these days, the demographic of wrestling fans has been shifting consistently for the past like 30 years, more in that direction.
Yeah. Like real fucking geeky bastards, like. So you'd think there would be just like you're saying, like an active amount of effort inside that like cross contamination of like fans to create something more.
Yeah. Just
like metalheads, massive metalheads are all fucking dorks. Metalheads, like everyone's all like, oh, metalheads are like angry, fucking this, that, and the other, like kids or this, that, and the other. It's like, no, most of them are fucking Dungeons and Dragons players, or fucking, you know, video games, fucking nerds, you know, because like if you look at most metal over the course of the last 50 years, like from the I can't believe I'm gonna say this, 1970s, 1980s, it's weird that is 40 years ago. Also want to fucking kill myself. But like, it's one of those things where like a lot of the fucking music is fucking heavily influenced by literal fucking like arts, specifically like, you know, fucking Lord of the Rings, or fucking, you know, fucking high fantasy and stuff. It's all fucking massive influence.
You look at Iron Maiden as an example. Bruce Dickinson is also a fantasy author.
Yeah.
And a pilot and like 50 million other things, because that man is implausible. But
fucking fencer.
I thought you were saying wizard.
No.
Which I would believe. Yes, fencer as well.
Fencer.
Have you seen the Iron Maiden stuff in Dead by Daylight?
Yes, so I was looking at that there. Eddie's costume, so you have the him Doc being parsley of Eddie, the God, what is the cowboy called again? You got Hunter's got
Death
the Doc
Singer.
skin. Death Singer is the somewhere back in time Eddie. Dredge is just kind of like an amalgamation.
He's a bunch of different Eddies,
an amalgamation of Eddies. Was there 3 Eddies or 4? Oh yeah, and then Oni is like the samurai Eddie from the most recent album, which makes the most sense.
And then I don't think every survivor, but a bunch of the survivors can have like Iron Maiden band tees.
Yes, they can. Yes,
and you can actually get that T-shirt.
Yeah, it's one of their tour T-shirts. Yeah.
Yeah, where it looks like a tour T-shirt, but the list of places on the back is maps from Dead by Daylight.
Oh, is that what is that what the thing the tour is? Okay, they all got the same tee, which is a little bit disappointing. But I did not know.
I think it's because it's a tour tee that it's meant to be like, oh, they all got it on the tour.
Yeah.
And my in-laws were like, oh, what do you want for your birthday? And I was like, do you know what I would never spend the money to buy for myself, because it has to be shipped from Canada and that is expensive. You can get me this game metal band crossover T-shirt, so I've got one of those T-shirts on the way.
Oh, that's fucking awesome. That is so fucking cool. I'm kind of jealous of that now. I'm quite jealous of that. Their Slipknot collaboration is out at the end of the month. So their Slipknot collection will be dropping, I think, like the 25th, I think, of March. I forgot that one!
Yeah. I can't remember what they said that one's gonna look like. I'm expecting at least every member of Legion to get a Slipknot
mask. That would make the most sense. Yeah. Or like give Ghostface a mask too.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there's quite a few of the killers that wear masks.
Give them all Slipknot variations of Slipknot masks.
Nurse technically wears a mask because she has a pillowcase over her head.
Yeah.
All 4 of Legion wear masks. Skull Merchant technically wears a mask.
True.
Ghostface wears a mask. Myers does, but they won't be able to give him one because of licensing.
Yes.
Who else wears a mask?
I feel like there is more, but it's...
I'm definitely forgetting. Trapper wears a mask.
Trapper wears a mask, yeah. So yeah, give them all like Slipknot masks. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Love that as a concept.
Have you loaded Dead by Daylight up?
No.
Look at that stuff?
No, I haven't.
Fear of the Dark plays on the menu.
Is that really?
No, it's not the actual Fear of the Dark. It's like a remix where it's just like 20 seconds on a loop, and it's like quieter and a bit like meant to be a bit spookier than the actual Fear of the Dark.
It's pretty
but
cool.
It's just a nice thing when you load in, you hear Bruce being like, Fear of the Dark, and I was like and Eddie's like massive faces in the clouds above the...
I've seen the screenshot. So I saw the Eddie cloud, which is like the Fear of the Dark. The Fear of the Dark sort of artwork and stuff. But I thought that looked really cool. I just haven't been in the headspace to play it. Like I've tried a few times over the last few months, and it just doesn't. I'm just not there, man. Have you
seen the new boy?
Yes, the urban legend lad.
Yeah, Twisty McTwist.
Yeah,
the unknown.
Yeah, I saw him. I don't know what his power set is though.
So his power set
right
is that he can make like a weird alien tube come out of his throat.
That's horrifying. Okay.
And it shoots effectively a grenade that has one bounce. So if you shoot it at a wall, it'll bounce off. If you shoot it at like the ground, it'll do a little boop.
Yeah.
And then it has like a radius that it explodes in. And if a survivor gets caught in that, they get hit with like his status, where it's like I've only seen videos of it, so I don't fully understand how it works. But it's like then I think if they get hit with it again, they get injured.
Right.
And it does something else. Hang on, let me remind myself. Oh yeah, he can also, like, while he's walking around, he creates hallucinations of himself.
Right.
So he basically creates, you know the way when the doctor gives you madness?
Yes.
You can see a fake doctor just fucking standing around. He makes those, but it's that he has like a meter that charges up, and then when it's full, he immediately puts one wherever he's standing when it finishes charging.
Right.
And he can then teleport between those like fake versions of himself.
They seem to get really into the teleportation stuff these days, don't they?
Mate, that teleport is lightning fucking fast. Like,
right.
You know the way Dredge kind of like zooms across the map?
Yeah.
Unknown is just like, whoop, there he is. It's like nurse speed teleporting.
Right, okay.
But you know exactly where you're going to go. You don't have to aim it. It's just like, yeah, I'm going to go to that bot over there.
Okay.
Oh yeah, so if they get hit with his like blast, they become weakened.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that they will lose health if they get hit with another blast. So it's kind of like how Nemesis has to hit you with the tentacle to give you the status, and then if he hits you again while you have the status, you get injured.
Right.
And the way that you get rid of the like weakened effect is you have to like go to one of the fake unknowns and just stare at it. It's like you have to face the fear that you have of this thing.
Right. But that puts you in, then obviously I imagine the
at the risk that he's just going to teleport to that thing and smack you in the face while you're stood there staring it out.
Yeah.
So he looks really strong if you can aim those grenades well, and pretty okay if you're not great at it.
Okay.
I'm really interested to see his skins because he's got such a weird shape.
Yeah, like he's such an odd fucking like amalgamation. Like you were saying, like it's basically the collective sort of speculation of what a serial killer or whatever an urban legend is, all collected into one entity, right?
So it's that he's from the same like area that Michaela is, because the new survivor is like Michaela's best friend.
Yeah.
And is a very attractive goth lady.
Sable.
Sable indeed. And it's like in that area, the unknown is all the urban legends. So people, like, anytime something weird happened, people would be like, oh, there's a serial killer in the woods, or there's government experiments, or there's aliens, or whatever. And the unknown is, oh yeah, best friend. The unknown is all of those things in one thing. And that I think, I haven't read the lore fully, but it's basically like, it appears when someone tries to actually understand what it is. When someone tries to be like, right, hang on, what actually is going on here? What is this thing? That's when the unknown turns up. It's that someone trying to understand it summons it.
Right, okay.
So that's why it has an axe, even though you're like, but it's a weird fucking alien monster. Why does it use an axe? It's because there's rumors of an axe murderer.
Right, I see.
In every single animation where it uses the axe, it uses it wrong. Which I think is really clever. Where it's like, whenever it hits a generator, it doesn't swing with the axe, it stabs. Like with the flat part.
That's
whenever you break a downed pallet, you immediately would be like, oh, it does like an axe swing.
Yeah.
No, it leans back on all fours and kicks forward with its foot. Because it doesn't understand what the axe is for, it just knows that it's supposed to have one. So yeah, in every animation where it uses the axe, it uses it incorrectly. And it can do the weird alien mouth thing that shoots the grenade because people think there's aliens in the woods. It can make people hallucinate because there was rumors that the government was testing like a fear gas at a nearby facility. So it's this weird mix of everything that anyone has ever said about it. And I'm like, that's such a cool idea, but what are the skins going to look like?
Oh, that'll be interesting. I'm still just thinking about what you said. Like, oh yeah, it has an axe and it doesn't know what an axe is, so it's just like,
yeah. Like if you look at the animations, they're like, I think it would be easy to be like, who animated this? It doesn't look right, and it's like, no, it's not supposed to look right. And it also does this thing where it mimics, so it's kind of like Chucky. It talks.
Yes.
During the matches, but it mimics human voice.
Right. Okay.
if you don't have the weakened status effect from its weird fear grenades, the voice sounds like all distorted and fucked up, like, again, help me.
Yeah.
If you have the effect, you hear a normal voice being like, can you help me?
Oh, that's fucking weird. That's creepy.
Yeah. Or like, I can't find my dog. But if you don't have the effect, you just hear, I can't my dog. Like, it's all fucked up and distorted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, that's cool. That's cool.
That's cool. That is cool. Oh. No hallucinations play Doc. Yeah, Doc is the king of hallucinations.
Yeah.
Doc is all about that hallucinogenic life. I like our Pajwas also went best friend, not lesbian lover.
Yeah. They fucking.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks cool. There has been someone that has, I don't know if you've seen this or not, has like predicted from Chucky what every release is going to be, and has been accurate so far.
Interesting. So you think there might be an insider?
Maybe.
Interesting.
So the things that they've said are coming later this year are Vecna, but not from Stranger Things. Like D&D Vecna.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, it feels weird. I'm like, no, you've already got Stranger Things. Do Stranger Things Vecna as like Stranger Things Part 2. And the other thing, and you're going to find this interesting, that they have said is coming this year is Dracula.
What? Okay.
From Castlevania specifically.
Okay. Okay. You had me in the first half.
Yeah.
No, you definitely have me in the second half.
I thought that would get you. Now, again, we don't know if this is true, but they predicted we're going to get like Chucky, we're going to get Alan Wake, we're going to get a weird alien thing that is multiple things at once, and the other things they've predicted are D&D Vecna and Castlevania Dracula.
Just turn on Bloody Tears, the song. Just let me be fucking Dracula. I'ma fuck people up. I'm coming back, and I'll come back hard, and I'll come all over their faces. They won't see it coming.
They'll see you coming.
Oh yeah, they will.
On their face.
Bloody Tears.
If you ask me to guess which version of Dracula might get added to Dead by Daylight, Castlevania wouldn't have even been in the top 3.
Wouldn't even have considered it. Wouldn't even remotely have considered it. Fuck's that quote. Yeah. It's true. I think it looks a bit like Dwight, so I imagine the Unknown had a Meg or a Jake or David skin, just not Claudette, please. No Bubba 2.0. Oh, God.
Pazwa, you might actually be right, because there is stuff in the lore and some of the teasers to suggest that there are urban legends about a creature in the woods that kills people and tries to turn into them by like wearing their skin or shifting itself to look like them, and that's why it's saying things like it's trying to be a human, but it doesn't really know what being a human is like, and that's why it's all twisted and fucked up. And some people have said that the Unknown does look a bit like Dwight, so that we could get skins where it looks like other survivors that it's killed and is trying to take the place of, but doing a bad job of it.
That's interesting. I like that. As conceptually as something goes, that's exciting. It's different. It's weird. It's eerie, and I like it when they fuck with like the players and the universe in a way that is just so like, oh, that's
yeah. There was a lot of speculation based on the teasers that it was going to do like the thing, like do a mimicry thing where it pretended to be a survivor, which is a thing people have talked about basically since Dead by Daylight came out, was what if the killer could pretend to be a survivor. But no, it does weird bouncy ball grenade fear gas teleporting stuff instead.
That's odd. That comment is trying to be human, but doesn't quite know what meaning. It was like autistically relatable.
That is a good comment. We're all just trying our best. We're all pretending.
Yeah, no, I think that's cool. I'm excited to see what's coming up. Like I saw Alan Wake coming. I was like, that's cool, Alan Wake's there. I don't know if I haven't played my Alan Wake yet, so I don't know how I feel about Alan Wake because I've got the first 2 Alan Wakes to get through after I get through.
I haven't played either of them, so I don't know a lot about Alan Wake, but it was one of those crossovers that I saw and I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Like, people really love Alan Wake, and I might love Alan Wake. I will find out once I'm done Like a Dragon, because that's the next games I'm going on to, is those games back to back. I'll play Alan Wake 1 and 2, and then I'm going to have a little bit of Mario, just to have a bit of chill Mario, and then into Resident Evil Remake, and then Resident Evil Remake into Modern Midnight Suns. And then probably from there into Final Fantasy Rebirth. So many games.
I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. I haven't played Remake yet. Because it was like, oh yeah, Remake is the first third of what they're doing, and Rebirth is the second third, and then there'll be a third one. And I was like, I'm gonna wait. I've got other shit to play. I will, whatever the third one is called. Final Fantasy. They'll
probably release an ultimate pack for all of them in one.
Rediddle. Yeah, exactly. And I'll be like, right, that's me. I'll grab that. We were talking before we went live about Helldivers.
Yes.
And you didn't mention that in your games you're going to stream. So is that like an off-stream game for you?
That's what. So here's the thing. I wouldn't say it's an off-stream thing definitively. It's one of those ones where I just haven't factored it into current plans, because the games I've mentioned so far were factored into current plans. It's one of those ones where I'm not ruling it out, but it wouldn't be a committed content skew game like the other games are, because those other games are very specifically single player.
It's also a game. It's a game you can't finish.
Yeah. So
do you know what I mean? It's a game you play when you feel like playing it.
Yeah. So it could be something I do stream if I just like me and like a few people like want to fucking just go, help out Super Earth, because why the fuck would you not?
You have to fight for democracy and freedom.
Yeah, exactly. So I could do that there, but like it's one of those ones where I don't think I would have it as a committed game, even though if I really wanted to get big real fast, it's commit to one game, and I could probably do that with that game. But like, let's be honest, I don't want to sell my soul. I prefer to still be able to have my community, and I like the single player narratives and experiences I get to share with the actual people in my community and stuff. And like so far, everyone's like at every like story point of like a dragon so far, we've all been just like having our hearts broken at the same time, having ourselves like all laughing at the same time and stuff. It's been great. But it is one of those situations where I'm not going to talk about too much the story beats of Like a Dragon, because I'm still not even nowhere near done. I'm only like midway through chapter 8, and like I have some speculations in my head, and you're also ahead of me, but I just kind of want to see how that goes. I don't want to. I feel like, I
am ahead of you, but it's one of those. We're in that stretch. We're both in that same stretch of the game where the chapters are doing a lot of ground laying for the last 4 or 5 chapters where it's all going to happen. So even though I'm ahead of you, it's like I have information, but not much has happened.
Yeah. Where like that part where like when like Kira just takes that fucking absolute beating in the fucking burnt out fucking forest.
For me, it was the like, again, without saying too much, is the dream he has with the hands. That
was cool, and I like that.
That's good shit.
But it's just, I think like the realities of his death became again just so starkly pushed to the forefront of the narrative.
you know that like even 5 years before, Kerry was walking out of there and everyone is on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, not even an issue for him. But it's that theme that it's pushing of like, he's having to learn from Ichiban to lean on all these other people and let them help him, because it's like you used to be this juggernaut that just walked through your problems and you can't do it anymore.
Yeah. Just that blood, when his blood was in his hand, though, that's the part where I almost fucking cried again. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna fucking cry. It's actually happening. I'm gonna fucking lose my shit here.
But whether you stream Helldivers 2 or not, let me know at any point you're jumping on it, because I would love to jump in with you.
Thank you, Hunter.
Just try not to accidentally blow each other up.
Oh, we'll end up blowing each other up. That'll happen. That'll happen. So yeah, like, I mean, I know a few people have been wanting to play it, and I've got it. It's just, it's such a crazy time at the minute for me. Like,
it is.
Like, I'm trying to like sort a bunch of stuff out, like getting mentally preparing and getting ready to start slowly moving out of this house. And the last fucking few weeks is just, it's like, oh yeah, maybe I'll be able to consistently stream this week, and then stuff happens, and it's just out the fucking window.
I've been the same, because had a really rough start to the month, and then got really unwell, and was like, okay, once I'm over this, I'll start streaming again. And then I just couldn't get my voice to hold up. It's like I would talk 30 minutes one day, and the next day my throat would be raw again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be interested to see how my throat is tomorrow after doing tonight.
Yeah.
And then once I was like, okay, I'm going to start doing some streams again, Laura was not well, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same as you, that it's just like every time you feel like you're starting to get your feet under you again, something else happens, something else comes along, and you're just like, right, well, there goes the next 3 days. Okay, well, there goes the weekend. And before you know it, you're like, oh, it's been weeks.
Yeah, and it's one of those things as well. It's like it's not even like you feel like you're in control of it. It's literally happening to you. Like, yeah, you've
not done anything. You've not brought anything upon yourself. It's just that things are occurring.
Yeah, like it's like I would say the last 2 weeks alone have been chaotic. Not all bad. Just been some great shit that's happened over the last 2 weeks, but also it's just been chaotic. Like, good things that I fucking would love to talk about but can't. Later did, you will understand why at some point. That have happened have been just fucking amazing. But then there's also been the fucking goddamn like walking fucking viewing. Like, my house is just an open house at this point.
Oh, I would hate that so much.
And so it's like everything that's great has happened is amazing, and it's fucking all good in the background, and things are starting to fucking fall into place and slide into place. It's amazing. And then suddenly that's fucking interspersed by just random dickhead walks into my house and randomly looks through my fridge. Yeah. Or a random dickhead who, on Friday, who walks into my house, just starts playing with my DVDs. I don't have many. Just starts like lifting DVDs off the shelf, looking at them, puts them back on the shelf. Just people who come to view houses are doing very odd things.
I wouldn't be having, if someone came in to do a viewing of a place that I was renting and leaving, I would be like, yep, I've done viewings. I understand how it works. You need to look around. You need to even interact with some things in the house, like check the taps,
yeah,
or whatever. But if someone came in and started just like picking up like books and DVDs and shit, I'd be like, do you want to get the fuck out?
What's
like,
the thing?
You've crossed a line here of social etiquette.
I didn't even realize that it happened until they had left, because what the crack was is I was up here and I was sitting in the dark getting stuff done, just doing a few bits and bobs, and like they'll have the fucking letting agent bring them in, and then they'll walk throughout the house and stuff, right? And then I just get this shout, it's like, okay, that's us away. I'm like, okay, bye. Go and close the door, go to lock door. I'm like, oh, my space is my own again. Walked past the living room, didn't even notice anything. Went in, had a shower, because it was on Friday. Had my shower and stuff. Went into my living room just to kind of like, you know, get my hair brushed, kind of collect myself, just kind of like get new socks on, slippers and all on. And I just look up at my like shelf where the DVDs are, and like I'm just like, why are the DVDs disheveled and like not in the order they were in? What the fuck were they doing? And it's always, I actually did email the letting agency on the Friday after when I got back upstairs. I was like, I appreciate these viewings have to happen, but why are continual potential tenants touching my stuff,
like my personal
belongings? I like, and And it was one of those ones where like someone came back to me really snooty and was like, well, you know, tenants will check the property to make sure that the property is, there's nothing to hide in, there's no fucking things that no surprises or anything. And I went back, yes, but my DVD collection is not a part of the rental list, or nor is it part of the actual fucking items that come with the house. Can you please please rein in any overly zealous potential tenants going forward, because this is now the second time that an event has happened that I've been very kind of weirded out by when I'm letting a house viewing happen. First time was when the person just came in directly as part of an open view, where like they do is open views where like they open it for 45 minutes and they'll have like a slew of people come in. One guy just came in, had a look at my fridge, had a good 10-second look for the fridge, and then walked out. It's like, was he looking for a beer? Did he just come in looking for a wee drink? Did he think my house was a bar?
Presumably, the fridge comes with the house.
It does, and people said to me, "It's like they could be like, you know, checking to see if the fridge is in good nick." But like,
I could understand that.
I watched
if they also looked at the rest of the house.
No, this is the thing. That was the only thing he looked at. I watched him come into the house, into the kitchen, to the fridge, where you know my fridge is, walk out again.
If they looked at the fridge and also looked at other parts of the house, I'd be like, they were checking that the fridge worked. I can understand that.
Yeah.
Coming in, opening the fridge, looking in the fridge, closing the fridge, and leaving, I'm like, how important is the fridge to you that you're like, I immediately know I don't want to rent this property based on the fridge?
I mean, like, I was just kind of sitting there. I was like, what is it? And I had the fingers like, what is it? And I was like, what's in there? Some mincemeat, some water, some sodas, milk. That was it. And like, I was like, did they just suddenly?
I think what happened is that they looked in the fridge and went, no, none of my severed heads will fit in here. This is no good for me.
But yeah, so like, I had to even have like a bit of an awkwardly like combative conversation with the letting agency over email on the Friday.
The frustrating thing is that I know, and you know, that the people at the letting agency probably think you're really awkward. They're probably like, we can't wait to be done with this guy. And it's like, no, you're just saying to them, stop being dickheads.
Yeah. Stop being weird. Like, if you're fucking doing that there, like, stop being weird. But then, funny enough, fingers crossed, so far there's been no booking scheduled for this week. Now, knowing my luck, it'll probably get an email probably tomorrow morning. So it's like, we have scheduled a viewing for Wednesday or fucking Thursday or something. But like, I did also get snippy at the timing they were doing as well. And I actually said to them, like, another complaint I'm having here is that you are waiting till literally near 5 o'clock in the evening to do these viewings. At that point, that should be my private time. I'm still renting this house. This is still my privacy, my private domain.
Yeah, no, you've got right to what is it, like peaceable enjoyment of the property or whatever it's called.
So can you please start scheduling these earlier? I get that other people need to work and maybe can't see viewings till later, but I am also entitled to my free time and my privacy, even if you are trying to rent this house out.
I mean, when we left the house we were in before we moved in here, we fortunately didn't have any viewings. We did have them come and do a couple of property inspections, but there were no viewings, and we were pretty confident when we told them we were going that we wouldn't have any viewings because the house was in a state. Yeah. Like, it needed work done, and we were like, there's no way they're going to rent it out straight to someone else. They have to come in and do some, like, the carpets need changed, it needs a coat of paint, like, there's stuff that needs to be done to it. So fortunately we didn't have any viewings, but I would have absolutely cracked up if I had to deal with it, because I'm the same as you, that my space is really important. Like, I need to know that when that door is closed, that I'm in my own little bubble, and having it constantly disrupted by other people would really upset me.
Yeah, and it's like one of those things where it's one of those things I can tolerate it if it's earlier in the day, because then it's done, right? Then the rest of the day is back to being my again, and I know where I'm coming and going. Like, at one point I was having to stop and not do streams for the majority of the day, where I like to start streaming now around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and end by about 9, so I still have my evenings to myself, and my mornings are there for my folks and stuff. Yeah. I was like, well, I'll have the afternoon to like mid-evening for the stream and stuff, fitting it in there. It's nice and cozy, good to go. And like, that was stopping me, because what was happening was they would then not get here get done till near 5 o'clock. At which point, 2 hours late then means I'm not getting as much streams done for the day as I wanted to get done. If I push it beyond the 9 o'clock, 9:30, I like to stop at, and then I'm pushing my own boundaries again when I'm trying to give myself evenings to relax, because I do have to fucking be somewhat social in the mornings. I have to go see my folks. I have to be a bit more mindful of how far I'm streaming into the evening, unless I know I'm not going to be somewhere. And that was taken away. I was frustrating me because then I didn't feel like I was having even control over my own fucking
schedule,
my own schedule and stuff.
Laura's asking, why are they doing viewings while you're still in the house? Like, why wouldn't they wait until they've tidied it and made it perfectly nice before they show it off? Because in their mind, any time where there is not someone actively renting the property is money lost.
Yeah.
So they want as small a window between when you move out and someone else moves in.
Yeah.
And if they could have their way, it would be like, you move out, someone moves in the next day.
Like, this house becomes available on the 15th of April. I leave on the 31st of March, so they're given 2 weeks. Because I know the landlord wants to... That's our one. The landlord came at 7 o'clock one night. When we
I wouldn't be having that.
You
Absolutely wouldn't be having that.
You remember? That was when it was a PVD night?
Oh, yeah.
Because they wanted to come in and have a look at the rooms and see what room she brought a painter. It's like they were working out which rooms they wanted to paint between tenants and stuff, and the whole time it was just her going like, I wanted all the same colors, and there's this room in this house is painted ugly as fuck, and it was like, I wanted all the same colors, just want it freshened up. And I'm sitting there listening to this going to myself like, who the fuck would, like, the only reason I haven't painted these rooms because I know I am just aware that, like, it's not my house to paint, so why would I waste my own money? But like, who looked at the colors of this room and think that's a great, wonderful, awful maroon?
No, I would be like, you can call between the hours of 9 and 5. Evening, absolutely not. That is my time.
They still left me for broken cooker. They replaced my cooker a month and a half ago. It's still broke. Fucking wild.
We couldn't even get our old landlord to replace our cooker, and it badly needed done, because when we moved in, all the markings on the front of it, so that you knew like which thing was for which hob and what the temperatures were, they were all rubbed off.
Fuck's sake.
So we had to trial and error, like, okay, this turns on that one, this turns on that one, and we never had the temperature, so we were always just kind of guessing, like, seems hot, that'll do.
That's the one.
It's a wonder we didn't give ourselves food poisoning.
Yeah. Hunter willing to put holes in people for me, which I massively appreciate. Hunter, you're an absolute sweetheart. Having a lot of prospective tends to break your TV, they're liable for that. I like to hope there would be, but I imagine there'd be some bullshit.
That feels like a pretty extreme circumstance. It is extremely normal here for I don't know what the case is in America. It's extremely normal here for viewings to occur while someone is still in the property. That is very normal.
Yeah, that's a normal thing.
It's unpleasant, but it's very normal.
Yeah. It's baked into your tenancy agreements usually as well that they're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, it's just a reality of what they do here. It's one of those ones where, like, once I'm out, I don't give a fuck. I will.
Yeah, in rear view doesn't matter anymore. I'll
have other complications to deal with, directly living with my folks again and looking after them so directly, which will probably cause a bit of annoyances and frustrations on my part. But like, at that point, it's whatever. But yeah.
Love Like China says it's very normal in America, but typically the current tenants / homeowners leave for the showing. Like, it's very strange to hear you were there for it. That is normally up to the current tenant, whether they want to be there or not. Like, you're given notice of when it will be, so you can leave if you don't want to be there, or you can stay if you're like, I don't want people going through my DVDs, and then they do it anyway.
Yeah, so like, I mean, I get like a little email thing saying it's like, you're welcome to be here or not, and I'm kind of like, given the shit you've pulled the last few times, I'm not being here.
Yeah, knowing your luck, you would be like, oh, you're doing a wee viewing, all right, I'll pop to the shops, and by the time I come back, you'll be gone, and you'll go to the shops and come back and be like, yeah, we moved them in, they live here now.
Yeah, or my PC will be gone and be like, lads, I had a PC.
Did you know?
What you doing? What you doing? That's a bit wild.
Queero, hello.
Welcome on in.
I have not. I don't know if Queero hasn't been streaming as much. I haven't seen a Queero stream in far too long. But lovely streamer for anyone that is looking for good vibes.
Give him a wee shout out. Can anyone wants to drop them a shout out, please?
I would literally follow the cunts around to make sure they don't fuck with it. Yeah, I'd be like that as well. I'd be like, I am watching you look around my house.
It's
and if you feel uncomfortable, just think about the fact that you're in someone else's house.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things where I sit in this room specifically in the darkest format I can make it, just to look like such a gremlin. I just try to. I make it so they can't see this room. I make it so
as they walk out the door, you just hiss at them.
I make it so they don't get to see the room properly. So I am kind of like a little bastard like that.
Uni students, you don't have a choice. Queero went on a tour and a guy was getting ready, and then they just unlocked the door and walked in. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the start of a porn.
Yeah.
That feels like the start of a porn.
Yeah.
Does your stuff you'll be holding a landlord responsible for any damaged property? Been a bit sick, sorry to hear that. Love like China has only seen people wait and stage when they intend to do significant remodeling. One of her recent places, they walked them through a place that actively smelled and had stains all over the carpet and told her they were going to replace it entirely. They didn't wait to do the work before showing it. That seems silly. I'm like, you want to show the property in the best state?
Yeah. Which is like makes the most sense, but like I guess I don't know. It depends on demand of property, I guess, in certain areas, you know.
True.
Like I looked at it and I was looking to see because like John Bacon's place went up for rent. It went from like John Bacon. His went rent from like $675 a month to $1,050. And I was like, I looked at it and I was like, his house was nice. It wasn't.
That's like an over 50% increase.
But it's not $1,050 a month. Nice, let me tell you. At that point,
I mean, not many places are, but I was saying this to Laura Marie the other day. Actually, like we were talking about how we got talking about rent prices for something. But I was like, oh, we have no idea what rent is anymore. Like our concept of it is skewed because the house we were in was such a shithole. Mm-hmm. And anytime they came to me and were like, we're thinking of raising your rent a wee bit, and I was like, I'm thinking of suing you a wee bit. They'd be like, well, maybe we'll leave the rent where it is then. And I was like, seems like a good idea, doesn't it? So our rent stayed like really competitively low.
Yeah.
And now someone comes to me and is like, oh yeah, our rent's over $1,000 a month. And I'm like, excuse me, when did this happen? When did people accept this?
It's wild. Like I looked on, I'm not going to say where my current address is because like I'm still here. I could still be technically doxxed. But like I looked online to see what the listing was like for this place.
I'll tell everyone where you're living right now.
Don't.
Living rent free in my mind.
Oh my God.
Dreams.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Didn't see that one coming. Probably should have.
Been doxxed, son.
Been doxxed. But I checked and the rent has went up by like 800 and something. So I'm like, okay, not as bad as some of the other places I've seen hike the rent up, but this house is still not worth it. Still not worth $850 a month. Still not worth $850 a month.
No.
Like no.
Christ.
Like this is getting.
I truly don't know how anyone affords it. I genuinely don't understand.
It's one of those things where like I think our rental market is starting to turn into like an American rental market where you'd have to have roommates.
Yeah, no, it really is.
Standard.
It really is.
Where like having a roommate was kind of like if you just really wanted super cheap rent when we were growing up. No,
or if you just had like a best mate that you were like, oh fuck yeah, we'll live together.
Yeah, where like now it's like starting to feel like it's starting to go in a good direction where it's going to become a fucking requirement rather than than an option.
Really is. Last place was about $900 a month. They charged way more for it when we moved out. Yeah, they will have. Was looking at uni accommodation. In some places want £300 plus a week for uni accommodation.
Sorry, what?
Can't figure out who they think is affording that. No clue.
What student is sitting on like $1,200 a month? They can just throw away.
Wild.
Like even their student loans are not giving them that additional money in headroom.
That's because after I graduated, I house shared with 2 people for a year. And I can't remember exactly what the rent was. But it was like a nice house. It was a good size. It had like living room, dining room, kitchen. It had a wee bit out the back with some grass. 3 bedrooms, one of which was really big. And there was absolutely no way that I paid more than $200 a month as my share of that rent. And it was probably less than that. So to hear $300 a week.
And they pack out some of these places where they'll charge £300 a week. They'll pack that out per student per property, and there'll be 5 students in the property.
Yeah, but they expect each one of them to pay
£300
full share.
American Rail Market's fucked, guaranteed. On a big house, we have 5 people living there, but we're just paying under. Want to scream into a void when I saw the end of that sentence. Want to scream, just scream into the void.
I already had that information, and it still makes me feel physically unwell. Even split between 5, that's gross.
Want to scream.
Looked into renting a 2-bed in Gloucester recently, and the lowest price was $900 per calendar month. Christ.
Fucking hell.
Landlords are leeches and shouldn't exist. Fuck all landlords. When I was younger, and I don't mean like significantly younger, I'm talking like 10 years ago, when I started to first kind of come to terms with the fact that I was someone who was unwell and was going to have to start thinking about the fact that I was going to be someone who couldn't work full time the way that I was used to, I was like, what options are there available to me? And one of the things that I'd seriously considered was trying to pull enough money together to invest in property to become a landlord. Because at the time, I didn't know, 1, how fucking shitty a profession that is. And 2, I was like, that seems like once you get it going, a manageable thing. Like, to have income coming in without fucking yourself working all the time. And now that I'm older, and in theory, not easily, but probably could pull the money together to try and look at doing that, I'm just like, no, the idea is too repellent to me, because I couldn't charge people those prices. I couldn't do it.
No.
I would be charging people prices from like 15 years ago and losing money. Because I can't see how that is right.
I'm hoping at some point it gets to a point where like there's massive legislation demanding that there's only like private landlords are only allowed to hold 1 additional home other than their current residence. Like, because what it is that once a landlord holds usually upwards of 4 or 5 plus properties
in order to actually be profitable. Yeah.
Where I'm just hoping at one point someone like, because it's fucking up the whole market as a whole, and landlords are actually causing the buyer's market to be so bad. Like, they're literally a cancer onto the renters and property owners. That actually
ties into what Love Like China has just said. You could attempt to be a more ethical landlord. I don't believe that charging a reasonable rent would actually have you losing money. But the problem, like you're saying, is that landlords have fucked the housing market so badly that mortgages are outrageous. So you do have to charge this really high rent to cover the mortgage to break even on your investment even.
Yeah. So I would like at some point for this legislation to come through, but like, nope, private ownership is 1 house that you physically reside in, and if you want an additional house, you're limited to one per person. And
I don't know that it needs to be limited to 1 per person. I think there should be a limit, but I do think there should be some kind of scale of the more properties you own specifically for rental, the higher your tax ramps up. Do you know what I mean? Like, so that you're not making obscene amounts of money from it.
Well, the only reason I say still have to limit one per person is because the problem is that it's the ownership of mass amounts of land under one person is the problem. Where if you limit the amount of mass ownership, you're going to eliminate the problem.
True.
Like if you tax them all, it doesn't matter. They just wrap the fucking costs up to cover the tax.
You're right.
You need to limit the physical actual ownership. You need to physically limit the amount they're allowed to literally hold on to.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Because otherwise you're creating false scarcity, which I am not a fan of. Quero says there's someone adult actor who's been buying properties and letting people in shelters rent super cheap because she was houseless and wants to help people in similar situations. I think I read about that a while ago. And it's the sort of like, I was talking about this the other day to someone about like, the conversation that you always inevitably have with someone where it's like, what would you do if you won the lottery? If you were crazy, obscenely, if you were a billionaire overnight? And people are like, and I was one of these people when I was younger, that you talk about the nice house you would get yourself, about the places you would go. But increasingly now, if that question comes up, I'm like, I would be paying off debts of strangers. I would be like trying to create ethical housing. I would be doing all this mutual aid stuff. Like, I'm just so much more drawn to the idea of using that money, if it was available, not for, or at least certainly not exclusively for, my own benefit. Like, I would get more out of using it to help other people than spending it on myself or hoarding it like a fucking dragon. And I think that's really interesting because I'm saying this about myself, which sounds really vain, but I think that's interesting because typically as people get older, studies have shown that they become more economically conservative. They become more careful with their money. They become more selfish with their money. They become more politically inclined to vote for parties that will protect their financial interests, which also makes it harder for other people to benefit. But I think what we're seeing with people like our age is that the exact opposite is happening.
That's actually proven statistically. That's actually there's been a study in that, and it's actually proven that Millennial and Gen Z actually are the exact opposite. We're the first generation
to go the other direction.
To go in the other direction, and generations below us are doing the same thing. Our generation's the turning point generation.
Is the swing, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we are hitting that age where people would typically shift in that direction, but we don't have the finances that would normally go along with being that age. So we're still like, I've got fucking nothing, or I've got some stuff, but it's been way less than someone before me would have gotten, and it's much harder work. So because we haven't had that we haven't had that like windfall from the system, we're more inclined to be like, nah, system sucks, fix it for other people, please. Probably too late for us now.
Yeah. Welcome to the stream, by the way, Ready Crash. You don't know what generation you're in? Well, without doxing yourself too badly, can you give us the year you were born? We'll be able to tell you based off that.
Or you could give us a window if you don't want to be too specific.
Yeah, or a window works as well. What's in the world around us, and we're promised to go up and smoke around us. Yeah, 100% Hunter. We know, we've seen it. We're seeing the problems. Like, yeah, we don't want that. We kind of hate that, actually.
That much money, you could impact the rental market in a city significantly. That's true. Like, if you became, like, say you won 500 million in the lottery, you could actually alter the rental market in a small city. Yeah,
the problem is it would only be a very localized impact. It wouldn't affect the world.
It wouldn't affect the world, but you could do good with it.
You could do good. It'd be one of those ones though.
No, you would technically also be creating scarcity by snapping up a bunch of the properties, but if you were renting them out super cheap, that would offset some of that downside. The fact that they shifted more conservative like that is fucked. They pulled the ladder up behind themselves. 100%. The people were like, I got mine.
Yep.
And I know, I don't know someone that has done this, but I have a friend who it's one of those friend of a friend situations. I have a friend who's spoken to me about someone they know that when they were in uni was like really left wing, really liberal, really like interested in helping people, in using community aid actively to benefit people, and then got into a good career and started making really good money, and now votes for the Tories. And when my friend questioned them, like, this is completely the opposite of what you said you were about.
Oh no.
Why are you voting so differently? And said that they basically just said like, oh well, now it benefits me. And I'm like, right, something has happened there where that person has completely changed their worldview to be selfish. As soon as they had money, they were like, I want the world to be better and for people like me to have a better chance. And once they got their chance and benefited from it, they were like, no one else needs it now. I'm like, that is psychologically disturbed.
I know a few people like that as well. I know someone like that as well. And to me, it's like, what showed to me was like they never were truly socialist to begin with. They were self-centered. That's not socialism. And it's one of those things where like that is just human nature, is to be selfish. Human nature is to look out for yourself and to basically benefit yourself in all of the ways it can be, and make sure that nothing can ever fucking hinder that or remove or mitigate that thing that you've finally got. Which is why true socialism is a rare breed, because like it is an unfortunate thing that economics do tend to make people either more socialist or more conservative based on where they currently are. And it's a horrible thing to say, but like socialism is it's a bit sad to see that sometimes, because like again you'll see that usually happen quite a lot with socialists, where like the people are conservative, they never swing back. They never swing back.
No, it does never seem to happen. You sometimes get a leopards ate my face moment where someone who was well off suddenly finds themselves struggling and then wants to use the socialist programs that they previously spoke out against, but you never get the impression that they've actually changed their mind.
Yeah,
it's just that they're like, okay, but now I need it.
Yeah.
Whereas you do unfortunately see people who are socialist or left-leaning, you're right, it does feel like it goes left to right far more often than it goes right to left.
Yeah. Because even when they're benefiting from the left, they don't want to admit there's a good system, or they don't want to admit that their logic or that their voting or that their core politics is diametrically opposed to making themselves better. There's so many people that vote with conservative values, conservative ideas, and conservative parties and establishments that are directly voting against their own interest because they can't see past the concept of actually, buying into a system or creating a system or changing a system that would somewhat benefit everyone else, even if it would benefit themselves, because they don't want that.
I mean, tribalism has become a much bigger part of UK and American politics than it was before. Other countries as well, but I'm not as familiar with those. We in good old Northern Ireland know a little bit about tribalism in politics already.
Sorry, I just read Ready Crash's last two fucking statements into the chat. I'm just like, what the fuck?
Read a tweet thread long ago about someone who interviewed / researched drug users and told about someone who changed from libertarian to socialist after they did MDA because it made them realize other people had feelings. I've been struggling recently. I had to sell the Bentley because we deported our driver. Now I only have a Jaguar and a Lambo left. What even is the point? Well, you want triples. Triples is safest. I've seen things like that where people have done like psychotropic drugs that have like realized, oh, other people in the world are real. Do you know what I mean? Like they're real people the same way that I'm a person.
Yeah.
And I am glad that that person has had that revelation. I am happy that they are now empathetic and care about other people, or at least to where they should be. I'm also terrified that there are people out there who don't know other people have feelings. That is some Dennis Reynolds behavior. That is unhinged.
It is one of those ones where, like, if you're raised in an environment where you don't have to be aware of other people's feelings or care about their feelings, suddenly being forced to be in a scenario where you have to care or want to worry, it is going to be a bit jarring. But that's what, sadly, insulated environments will do to you. Like an insulated environment, an insulated family, insulated structures, because your money or wealth insulates you against average working class problems, will cause you to be insulated from those emotions and those feelings, and people who experience those emotions and feelings. Like, wealth is a wonderful insulator on all levels, be it the physical and the emotional. It's like a wealthy person has often had all of their problems resolved by just throwing money at it.
I think it's a BoJack Horseman quote that is like, basically, the age that someone becomes rich is the age they stop developing.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, I've made it, I've won, I no longer need to do any growth.
Yeah.
So I will stay this way because this way worked. And it's why so many fucking tech billionaires are assholes, because they stopped aging at 21. And it's like, no, that's the worst age. Don't be that age. It's terrible.
Well, it's this thing as well. Like, I think I remember telling you about this like maybe half a year ago, but like they done studies on wealth, and being a billionaire has the same impact to your brain as CTE does.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, when you are so rich that circumstances and realities can't affect you because you can buy your way out of it, has literally the impact on your brain like that a CTE would. But for people who don't know what CTE is, like, it's basically take a hammer to the fucking head.
Yeah, it's
concussion. So like it weirdly does that there. So like it fucks with your brain chemistry just the way CTE would.
When you talk about wealth being an insulator and people like growing up in different circumstances, how that affects them, I've talked about this a little bit. My experience is really weird. I think it's pretty abnormal in that when I was young, like young, my parents were dirt poor, and then there was a period of, I'm not sure exactly how long, but several years where it was more that I was like, I think the window was like 5 to 9, somewhere in there. My parents were millionaires, and then ended up dirt fucking poor again. So I have
jarring.
I have some like vague memories, and my memory isn't that great. I have like some vague memories of being like quite young, and us having a huge house, like ridiculous. Like, no one needs a house that big, huge for 3 people, because it was just me and my folks. In a really fancy neighborhood, and my mom and dad each had a car, each had a fancy fucking car. And I remember like that we had anything you would want. There was no wanting. But I also have memories of us having absolutely nothing. And then certainly when I was like entering my teens and in my teens, we were probably like lower middle class, where it was like had clawed back up to be okay, but by no means had, a considerable amount of money at any stage. And I've obviously never done a study on myself, but I'm always interested when I talk to people about like when they figured things out about life or money or parents or whatever, compared to myself, because of that, like, money is an insulator thing and like a bunch of other things. It's interesting to see the different ways and tracks that people develop on, and it's like, okay, what was the factor that made you realize people were people from the fucking beginning and made someone else not understand that other people are people? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just so interesting to me.
I can't say I have that level of experience. I think I've always had to understand people are people because I've always been dirt poor working class.
I don't think I ever felt like people weren't people. I don't remember a time where I was ever bad because we had money. I think maybe because we were like poor before that and then poor after that it was just like a weird blip of a few years. And it wasn't really when you're doing most of your turning into who you're going to end up being.
Yeah. I think it'd be different if you started in wealth and had your wealth as an insulator from early on into your formative years. I think that's where the difference is, because like when you're growing up with that insulator, it insulates you from the get-go, and then you never have to experience those emotions or those feelings or see those feelings and emotions directly in other people independently, because you already have that insulation built in from literally an early age, and it continues for your formative years. I think that's the big difference. Is like, you know, that is basically the best way I could describe it is kind of like the nurturing pot that you find yourself in, you know, because like I think nurture at that point is purely influenced by that economic wealth factor.
I think as well, because I went to Methody.
Yes.
Which, for those that don't know, in Northern Ireland, Belfast is like the posh school.
Yes.
Kind of.
You go to Methody, you go because you have money.
Yeah. And that was like a thing. By that point, my parents did not have the money for that. That was paid for by grandparents. So I was like the poor kid in the posh school, which is also an experience. Like that's really interesting. So I definitely saw a lot of people who didn't have empathy and were clearly not developing it. Reading books builds empathy. That's true. I think good media in general builds empathy, but how much people are exposed to good media, I don't know. Just gonna catch up on chat a little bit. The process of othering feeding into it, they just don't have the thought to question things and wonder about other people because they've become so indoctrinated into idea of superiority. Yeah, because I think with a lot of groups or people that maybe have money or tend to not see other people as full people, again, there's a lot of tribalism there, whether that's class-based or whether there's other factors, probably plays into it. 100% empathy is a skill, and living a difficult life makes it easier to understand other people having difficulties, usually. But if you don't have that window and you don't do anything to build compassion and empathy, you're just fucked. I think people who don't see others' personhood don't know they don't see it, though. They only realize it when it changes. Yeah, you hear all sorts of stories about people like who have falls from grace, who have like lost everything and end up better people because of it. And it's like, should have been a good person without having to experience bad things yourself. I can understand how experiencing something makes it easier to empathize with someone else experiencing it. Like that makes sense. That's human nature. But you should be able to imagine that it's bad and still feel a degree of empathy for someone going through something you've not been through. Like, if someone came to me with a problem that I've never experienced, I wouldn't be like, okay, I don't know what that's like. I would be like, that sounds bad. I imagine myself in that situation. Yeah, I imagine it feels bad. I have empathy for you. Someone's now going to tell me that this isn't how empathy works and I'm a psychopath. But, you know what I mean? Like, you should be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes without having to be in the shoes.
I think it's not even necessarily you have to understand the events. You have to understand the emotion that the thing is causing them is one that is detrimental to who they are and is making them feel in a way that doesn't bring them happiness or joy or causes them anxiety and stuff. And it's not even so much as like,
you don't even need to be like, I understand what you're going through. It's just, I understand that you feel bad, and that's enough.
Yeah, like I can see what this is doing to you, and knowing and understanding the effect the situation has, rather than what the situation fucking is, because that's where the important part of empathy comes from. Because like, there's going to be, like you said, there's going to be things that are going to happen to people that we care about and we love and that we want to support and protect. that we're never going to really know what it feels like, because there's a reality of like, either we're not going to go through it ourselves because, well, we want to avoid going through it ourselves because we don't want to have to deal with it as well on our personal levels, but also we might just not be capable of experiencing it. For example, like I will never be able to fully experience the heartbreak that a person would have if they lost a child in like through stillbirth, if you know what I mean.
Yes,
I'm just not biologically fucking capable of that. Like,
yes,
but
you will never experience that.
I will never experience that.
You can understand that someone feels bad about it.
Yeah, it's understanding the sadness and the heartache and the anxiety and the fear, and that's where like the empathy then obviously, as a reasonably constructed and reasonably well-adjusted person, will then be able to connect with them because they'll understand the feelings, not the actual event.
Yeah. So like one of the things that happened to us this month, as you know, was that we lost our cat Carlos, passed away. Just today, I had a friend message me to say that they are looking at their cat on the way out.
Yeah.
And I bring that up because it kind of relates to what we're talking about, in that obviously because I've just gone through that experience, empathy is like immediate and flowing. Like I'm like, I've just experienced this. I know exactly what you're going through. It is easier for me to be where you are because I'm still kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
But if we hadn't had what happened this month happen, I would still have that empathy. And it's that trips me up, is the idea that yes, it makes perfect sense that having experienced something, we can connect with someone else as they experience it. Or that even if it's not the event, it's the emotion, that like, oh, someone feels bad. I have felt bad. So I know what that is, and I can connect with it. But it kind of comes back to then that thing of like people who don't know that other people have feelings and need to take like psychoactive drugs to realize that. I'm like, what do you think people mean when they say they feel bad? Like, what's the block there that you're like, you're telling me that you experienced something and I know what that is. So because I have experienced it, because I am a person with feelings. Is it that I don't believe that you have those feelings? Is it that I don't think they're the same as my feelings, that they're less? Like, I'm so interested in what that actually means. Not that either of us have the answer. Other people are NPCs. Yeah, that they're less than. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Hunter kind of mentions your point quite well.
Also, there's slight additional detail that there are people who just do not have empathy because of certain service. Yes, this is true. Some cluster B, or it can be present for autistic people, and they're not bad people. They can still be perfectly good people without technically having empathy, so rich people have no excuse. Yes, but I think there's a difference between not having empathy because you're incapable through like a neurological disorder, or that it's a challenge because of like other factors in your life. But I think there's a difference between, okay, you do not have empathy because of this, but you can still, I imagine, and I'm happy to be corrected, can still kind of almost logic your way to something very similar to empathy. That if you don't have empathy in the sense of like, I understand how you feel and so I feel for you, you can still kind of logic your way there of, you're telling me you feel bad and I believe you, and I know that when someone feels bad, I should be good to them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is what Hunter is saying, like, rich people have no excuse because those people can still be good people. So there's clearly more to it than just not having empathy with those people. I don't know. We're getting in the fucking weeds of shit now.
Yeah, well, I think I understand. It's like, again, for a person with a disorder that has a struggle to find empathy or to display empathy, doesn't mitigate, like you're saying, their ability to understand it and to at least try and offer kindness, offer support in a way that makes sense, where rich motherfuckers will see these people, not give a fuck, and continue to not help or support or to offer.
I think Queero's nailed it. Rich people often just don't want to care. They have no motivation. Because they're just like, okay, I don't need to deal with you. I think that's maybe the factor.
Yeah, like there's just people have just decided to choose. They've just said, like, I don't care, so I'm not, and I'm not going to act like I care. I'm just going to go away now because I don't want to look at you.
Yeah.
But 100% specifies that it's his personal, not his autistic experience is not that there. He's too, and I can vouch for that. He's too caring. Sometimes he worries about people too much, which is a very sweet and wonderful trait.
Which is people associate autism with lack of emotion, whereas quite often the opposite is true.
It's a very stereotype. Autism's a thing that has a lot of stereotypes that are heavily
weighted in one specific
when people go to
expression of autism.
Yeah, when people go to like if people are trying to point out to what an autistic person looks like, they always go to cliches, and it's sadly in media often a lot of the cases they go for the very, very infuriatingly obvious classical stereotypes of like they're a brilliant mathematician or shit like that there, which is just at times, from what I've heard from Hunter as well, is often just highly offensive because it boils down autism to just one very super hyper specific stereotype.
It's the same as any other cliche or stereotype where it's like, yes, there are people who are like that or who do have some of those traits, but to make the assumption that everyone is like that.
Yeah.
And that's a good point from Queero. Most research has been done on young boys, so stereotyping makes sense, unfortunately. Both experiences are valid and exist, you should say. Some autistics are stoic and have no empathy. It's mostly offensive that it's the only fucking rep we get. Yeah, exactly. It's not that doesn't exist. It's that does not exist exclusively. And to make the assumption that it exists exclusively and to represent it as the only expression that there is where the problem lies.
Yeah.
Turns out this week's monster of the week is societal inequality and lack of empathy.
Yeah. Oh my god. We got to our monster of the week.
We're playing it a bit loose tonight because we've had some time off and we just wanted to catch up about stuff and apparently discuss the nature of the world.
Yeah. It's been a very philosophical night so far, which has been wild.
It's what happens as soon as anyone brings up landlords. It's like, right, the next hour is about how landlords suck.
It's not there. It's like also just like the incredible lefties on this that is just still here. It's like that's what it's like I'm 35.
Stuff like China. I would not fuck it.
At 35 turning 36. It's like, my lefty nature is only growing stronger. It's like I don't think I have to worry about having a conservative fucktard moment where I just completely change to the other side of the spectrum. I think I'm pretty confident about my politics at this point, I guess.
Speaking oh fucking hell, just nearly knocked my water over. Speaking of bad people, do you want some dirt? Do you want some gossip? Do you want some tea?
Okay, I'm going to need to ask a few questions because I remember I was about to ask about these questions before the stream and I forgot to. So I'm going to mute my mic while I ask you these questions.
Okay.
Because these are not questions that need to be heard by the... Yeah, sure, I'm going to go onto the break screen, okay? I'm going to put this on the break screen, going to ask the questions, and then we'll come back. So, folks...
On the break screen, will my mic be on? Because I'll give yes or no answers.
No, your mic will be nullified, so both of us will have the privacy to have these questions answered and asked, okay? Because I think it's just important, okay? Folks, we'll be back in a few minutes. I might actually take a piss break during the ad break as well, so you never know. Ooh. But we'll be back in a few minutes as well. Speak to you soon, folks. Oh, we have no break screen. Are you serious?
Oh. Who needs it?
Right, you know what? Going to invent one here.
If I don't have a big piece of paper to write break on, although I would hold it up.
Right,
Professional operation.
Speak to you soon, folks. I like that you were enjoying that player versus text.
Most good stuff. Right, we went to break there because we both needed a big piss, and also because we were just having a little chat and a check about how we want to discuss the gossip that I'm going to bring to you all, because this is a story. It is related to, imagine this, tabletop role-playing games. Apparently we talk about that sometimes on this show, about tabletop role-playing games.
Wild.
And for people that have been here a while, they will remember the story related to the game I run for the Hairdresser crew, and the absolute weapon of a person that tried to insert their husband into the D&D game in the wildest fashion possible, with full gas lamping occurring. This story is related to that person. It isn't actually about that person, but they're like tangentially related. And what we want to do is we want to give everyone a heads up that this story contains... I'm trying to think of how to phrase it, because I don't want to phrase it in any way that downplays what we're talking about, but I'm going to use a word to convey sort of the scale, the severity of what we're talking about, to give people some information. This story does involve an instance of, and again, I'm using this word to convey the scale of the incident, not the severity of what this issue is overall. Like, I don't even know if this is a good word to use or not, but hopefully people understand what I mean. An instance of like minor sexual assault. And when I say minor, sexual assault is not a minor thing, it is a big thing. But this instance is very... I don't know what word to use to make it, to convey what I mean, but like it's fairly tame. Everyone is absolutely fine. No one was hurt in any way. It was more that there was a bit of inappropriate behavior that shocked. You know what I mean? Yes, also not minors, and no young person was involved. That is very good point to clarify, Hunter. Thank you for bringing that up. It's one of those things where I'm trying to be hyper aware of my language, and that then means that I'm probably making more mistakes than I'm avoiding. So if anyone doesn't want to tune in for this story, we completely understand. It is not a story that involves anything like graphic. There's nothing graphic in this story. There is nothing that has left anyone involved with any lasting trauma or anything like that. But it is something that we wanted to mention before we started telling it, so that people don't get caught by surprise. And also, I do have the consent of the person who was involved in the incident. I have their consent to tell this story, which is also important to say. They are okay with this being relayed and conveyed.
Yes, we will do that.
Yes, that is a good idea, Quiro, for anyone that comes in after I've said these things. I don't think it's a story that will cause anyone who hears it to have like a really bad time, but I don't know what other people have been through, and I don't know what is going to be an issue for other people, so it is important to give that heads up. Yes, can't assume. Some of you, when I tell the story, may hit a point where you're like, this was what you gave all the preamble for, but there may be other people that are really grateful I gave it, so it is better to give it. It's better to err on the side of caution. Yes, best to be safe with these topics. So, for those that do and don't know, I am the Dungeon Master for a group of players that was formed by my wife's hairdresser. Most of them are absolutely lovely. Yes, that's perfect. Thank you. There is one player who has been a problem before because they decided they wanted some of the sessions to be at their house, and then when we turned up one day, they decided that their husband was going to play in the game, even though I had already said no, but they acted as if everyone was okay with it, and it was really awkward and uncomfortable and really strange. What happened here is that the hairdresser who put the group together, it was her birthday. And what she was doing for her birthday was a murder mystery at like an old manor house that we all went to and stayed at overnight. Fun time. I was like really unwell when we went, so I was not in the best headspace. And also, when I got there, I found out that my character that I had to play was a alcoholic and a raging drunk, which, for anyone that knows me, kind of pushes on some personal stuff. So I wasn't in a great mood. Everyone from our D&D game was there, and Problem Player's husband was also there. And a bunch of other people that know Hairdresser was there. We were all given characters and background information on other people's characters that were connected to our characters. Problem Player's husband was playing a character. This may get slightly hard to track, but it's not super important. Problem Player's husband was playing a character who was married to the hairdresser, but who was having an affair with the character played by Laura Marie, my darling wife. He, at different points of the evening, in character, I'll let that play out, and we will just point Shan towards the content warning at the top of the chat. Very happy to see you here, but you might want to just check that before you stick around in case there's anything in there that would be a problem for you. But thank you very much. I've mostly always been a long hair person. Got it short during the extreme heat wave we had that summer during lockdown, if you remember that, where having hair was just the worst thing in the world. And you're all good, Shan. I'm not trying to chase you away or anything. I just want to point you towards that to be in case it's a problem, to let you know. So, Problem Player's husband character was married to Hairdresser's character, having an affair with my wife's character. At one point in the evening, when a bunch of people were sat down, chatting in character, he put his hand on Laura Marie's leg and did a bit of a rub higher than his actual wife, so the Problem Player, saw this happen and said, out of character, "Oh, it's fine, I don't mind." Not considering, it kind of doesn't matter whether you don't mind, it's whether the person that it's being done to minds. There was no conversation beforehand about any of this. Is this recent? This was January.
January 19th, 20th.
Oh, I will take your word for it. I don't remember the date.
It was the day after Yakuza came out, or Like a Dragon came out.
Oh, it was, because I was so annoyed about having to go to it and not being able to play Yakuza. You're 100% right.
So the only reason why I know the date of this assault was because I'm just I know when Yakuza was out.
I was like, this story must have really affected you that you've remembered the date of it.
You know, I'm only hearing it for the first fucking time.
Yeah, I gave you only very, very vague information about it.
Fuck
so yeah. Laura Marie was not happy with this, was not comfortable with this. And it's worth pointing out as well that Laura Marie and I are both trained actors. We were actors previously. We are very used to the idea of playing a part where you have to kiss someone or simulate a sex act with someone. But there are ways that you do that, and it involves conversation, rehearsal. Like, you normally bring in someone to coordinate it. You normally have someone like watching the rehearsals to make sure nothing fucking weird happens. You don't just in the middle of a scene do something. And also, this was not a professional production. It was a fucking murder mystery in the arsehole of nowhere for someone's birthday. So it was super, super inappropriate. Laura Marie did her best to kind of like, gloss over and move past it in a way that so many of us, particularly femme-presenting people or people who've been assigned female at birth, have had to do countless times in their life when someone has been inappropriate. Is like, okay, the safest thing and the best thing for everyone to do in this moment is try and get past the moment rather than draw attention to the moment. And that's fucking awful. But it is, unfortunately, the true experience, the lived experience of so many people. Anybody who's had to live as a woman in any way, yes. And also other people as well. But most typically anybody who's had to live as a woman in any way. She then decided that she was going to kind of ignore half of what she was meant to do for the night and just avoid him entirely, even though she was meant to like have a bunch of connections with him and interactions with him. She was like, I don't need that. And at one point while she was talking, like stood with a cluster of other people talking to them, he walked up and had the idea that it was going to be a good idea to feel up her arse. Because in character, they're meant to be having an affair, so it would be okay to do. Again, not okay, not appropriate. I didn't know at the time that any of this was going on. I didn't find out until later. Not that that makes any difference. I'm not suggesting that, a husband would have come in and done anything about it. But I didn't witness any of it and didn't find out until after. Laura then was like, okay, I'm going to extra avoid him now, and managed to do that successfully. There were no other instances. That gives some context to why I was like, it's nothing too graphic in terms of what happened. It is still wrong. It is still inappropriate. And Laura's absolutely fine. She told me that night as we were going to bed. I was understandably not happy. Yeah, it's still fucked up. It was more that I was trying to be like, I hope you understand like why I was trying to give some insight into like how severe a content warning it was without necessarily knowing what the language to use there would be. She told me as we were going to bed. I was not happy. And also we were going to see everyone again the next day because we were all having breakfast at this like manor house. It's one of those that I'm glad that I didn't find out or notice like when everyone was still doing stuff, because I'd have absolutely lost my shit. You'd have left. So this was like midnight, and when I say we were in the middle of nowhere, we were in the middle of nowhere. Like 3 hours drive out into the country in the Republic of Ireland. Middle of nowhere, like absolute wilderness country. Before having breakfast with the fucker, someone was our ride, so like we couldn't go until they could go, and it's like the only way we can tell them that we need to leave before breakfast is to tell them what happened. Do we want to do that? Because our ride was someone else in the D&D game with this guy's wife. Like it was slightly too complicated to maybe just fuck off in the way that we otherwise would have. So I was like, we're going to have breakfast. We're going to leave when we were normally going to leave. I'm going to not interact with him or her at all. And I did that. And Laura did that as well. And then as everyone finished breakfast and was getting up and like saying goodbyes to, start driving home and stuff, I nabbed the birthday girl had nabbed hairdresser. And I was like, just want to talk to you about something. Something happened. Basically, it's not my place to do too much here, but I want to let you know that going forward for our D&D game, there's no more sessions at their house. As like that's non-negotiable. Is we're not going to their house, because I'm like, I'm not gonna trust myself to be around that guy, and I'm also not going to put Laura Marie in a position where she has to be around that guy. Hairdresser asked me if I could talk about what it was. I knew that I could, so I did. I was like, this happened, it was inappropriate. She was pretty unhappy that had happened. And she was like, leave it with me. Because I was like, do you want me to talk to this woman, or do you want to talk to this woman because she's someone you know, she's a client, she's a friend? And she was like, leave it with me. And what I've been able to glean came about from it was that they had a conversation over messages, which I was not privy to. But the gist of it was that neither she nor her husband felt like anything wrong had happened. That there was talk of, but it was in character, we were taking part in the event, that's how roleplay works. The exact litany of excuses you would expect to hear. And that as a result of that conversation, not only are there no more sessions at their house, but she is not a player in that game anymore. Which is for the best overall, for its own reasons, and also because it's just the right outcome here. That it's like, if you can't see that this was a problem, then yeah, you don't need to be part of this. Forgot consent goes out the window when you're role playing. This is the thing. This is a group that I held a session 0 with and talked about some of these things with in terms of D&D. So there's no excuse that even though it was a different activity, that there was ignorance about what I think like acceptable behavior. Like, I don't know. It's just trying to deal with people that live in a different world is tough. Doesn't see the issue. Could Heike be a danger to be around? Yeah. It pretty much told me like that's not someone I want at my table anyway, because I'm big on consent and safety tools. It's why I run a session 0 and talk about safety tools and how important it is that everyone feels safe and comfortable and has a good time. Hairdresser didn't put up with that shit. Hairdresser was very clear with me that she didn't find that behavior acceptable. She was like, I don't find it acceptable on its own grounds. But also her daughter, who is also part of that D&D game, was at the murder mystery. And she was like, I also made it very clear to everyone that I didn't want any inappropriate or raunchy behavior or language because my like underage daughter was going to be there. So like Hairdresser was like, what they've done by itself is not okay, but they've also completely ignored a thing that I said to them about what I wanted at my birthday. So she was not happy. I don't know the specifics of their conversation, like I said. I just know kind of like the rough vibe and outcome. So yeah, there's that story. I can tell you're digesting. And again, I will reiterate, like, Laura Marie's fine. Like, it's not really a blip on her radar. Just, oh, that guy is a creep. move on with life. As I say, unfortunately, as so many people have to do many times. You good?
Yeah, I'm just trying to formulate thoughts.
That's fine. Love Like China says it's so telling that the wife responded to the first assault as if the only issue would be perceived infidelity and LM's consent is apparently irrelevant. Yeah, like irrelevant or never occurred. But yeah, it was like, oh no, don't worry, I'm okay with this. Not, are you okay with this? Which I think comes back to weirdly what we were talking about earlier about like lacking empathy and only being able to see things through a personal lens. It was only how do I feel about this moment, not how does someone else feel about this moment. And that D&D game hasn't met again yet. We were meant to meet the other Sunday, but like basically all of us cancelled. You know, one of those where everyone is like, oh, actually, yeah, this doesn't work out because they had stuff going on, and it was the day before that Laura Marie was like not well, or started to be not well. So we haven't met up again yet. Something I am planning on doing is when we meet up again, because not everyone will know the extent of what happened. I do, Laura Marie does, and Hairdresser does. Hairdresser's daughter, I would be very surprised if they did, and our other player doesn't. So I'm going to address that someone has left the game, but I'm going to frame it as like it is very normal for people to leave games. People have stuff going on, they drop out, because it's not for me to inform the other people at the table. It is for the people at the table who experienced it to do that if they want to. Again, I have consent to share this story with you guys. But what I'm also going to do is revisit the safety tools conversation. I'm going to frame it based on stuff that happened in the game last session. As like, okay, we skirted some lines there. I want to revisit this stuff. So I'm going to frame it with that, even though I'm doing it to be like, this is important and we need to talk about it again because someone who's not here now apparently didn't fucking get it. I think the cultural notion that cheating is commonplace and awful, whereas SA is horrible, of course, but also super rare, and this definitely isn't an instance of that, which we know isn't fucking true. If you are struggling with this topic, dude, we can move on.
How do I put this?
I just thought it was an important story to share.
It's one of those ones where I'm struggling to... And I'll put it very clear. I am fucking furious. But I don't know of a constructive way to talk about how I feel. And so that's the problem I'm having.
Yeah, because
I'm not angry at I'm not angry at anyone in the chat or Johnson or anything telling the story. It's just these events and the demeanor and the complete and utter disgusting regard for human autonomy and for a person's feelings and a person's space is always a disgusting thing to see violated. But I'm also aware that my anger, and if I started shouting like I really want to, is not going to change anything. I'm also very aware it adds no relevance to the situation because an angry man does not necessarily achieve anything, especially when it's not my place to necessarily be the angry party in the situation, because it's not necessarily directly affected me, nor is it directly affected my partner, because it's not my partner. And so my anger, if I was to really, really let myself display how angry I am right now, would cease to benefit anyone other than to make this stream into a fucking shouting situation, which is not really helpful or appropriate.
Sure. I will say, for the context of the people in the chat, that, for me, this was like a month and a half ago, but you're getting the bulk of this information just now. So it is absolutely valid for you to be having the reaction that you're having and to feel the way that you're feeling. That you feel angry about it is, as much as there can be such a thing as a correct response, is the correct response. It is something that should be considered, like the events should be considered unacceptable and should, elicit an emotional reaction. In terms of expressing it, I have no problem with you expressing your emotions however you feel would benefit you, because it's not healthy to keep things in. I do think it is very sensitive of you to be aware of like the place of, like an angry man in a discussion about women's sexual assault. I do think that is very sensitive of you, and I applaud that. But also react how you want to react if you want to react. I'm not pushing you to. I'm just letting you know that it's okay.
It's understandable, and the only reason I have the wherewithal to understand that me shouting and getting angry and lashing out is not helping anyone is funny enough because of a comedian like Daniel Slosh, who done a wonderful fucking special talking about an instance where his friend was sexually assaulted, and his immediate reaction and his immediate desire to what he wanted to do was of one of violence and anger, and he wanted to basically go like a fucking primate and beat 7 shades of shit out of the person that hurt his friend. But he makes a great point in that special and says that once you do that, you make them the victim, and that's the problem. You can't. Sure. You have to be so very aware that when you take these actions out in the violently angry way that I want to right now, because in my head it's like I want to hit this fucker with a rake, because I already did not like him. I didn't like her. I didn't like him. To some extent, I thought maybe he was a victim of her, but now I'm seeing more that actually them two are just wonderfully suited together. They're both. We
talked about that with the last story about trying to figure out how much did he know about the bullshit she was pulling, and if you remember, I fell on the side of I think he probably didn't really know what the fuck was going on. I don't feel like that's the case anymore. Anger was also a very big part of my initial reaction. I was very unwell that weekend. I had like no energy. I was using my cane. I could barely like get myself around. So I was aware that if I did make the mistake of trying to respond with an act of violence, that it would not go well. I would love to say that I am evolved enough to say that that was not a factor in my decision of how to react, but it of course was. If I had been well, do I think I would have done something stupid? No. Do I think I would have wanted to more? Probably. And you're right that it doesn't ultimately achieve anything after the fact of the act. If the act in question is something that is occurring, absolutely take physical action to stop it if necessary. After the fact, you're not adding anything of benefit to people that have experienced it.
You're creating a scenario where you turn the actual perpetrator into a victim, and that's not going to be helpful to the actual person who's the real victim in this situation, and that's the bigger issue.
Yeah, and the frustrating thing as well is that I think, even without that those two probably do identify themselves as victims of all of this. Their view will probably be, we were vilified when we didn't do anything wrong, and also she will now be like, and I'm not part of a D&D game anymore. It has strained my relationship with this like person who I am friends with and who is my hairdresser. So I think they will still identify themselves as the victims, which is really, really frustrating. Hunter says, but yeah, especially in an active situation where there is perhaps more immediate distress on the part of the violated, turning one's attention / energy to getting the violated party to safety and comfort and making sure they are okay can be infinitely more helpful than beating the fuck out of the violator. However, having a bit of a foot in both creeks as a trans man, I also want to stab the violator with every fiber of my being. Yeah, when I said like take physical action, I meant primarily to stop the act and ensure that the person is safe. If there's violence required in that, then that's the situation where violently reacting is the correct thing to do to protect. I think anyway. That's my personal opinion. They absolutely see themselves as victims. That's their whole vibe. No accountability, no respect. Yeah. I think these are people, and I've talked with Laura Marie about this. I think these are people that, especially on her part, don't get challenged much. I don't think these are people that get called up or get called out on their shit. And then go through life doing blatantly egregious stuff with such bolshiness because they're like, oh yeah, no one's gonna call us out. And definitely don't think they appreciated that I did, even though I didn't call them out directly because I knew that it wasn't the way to handle things. I was just like, my only concern here isn't even informing Hairdresser that this happened. My concern is making sure that we're not around them anymore.
Yeah.
And that there's no expectation that we will be. And step one of that is being like, because this was the next morning, step one was like, definitely no more sessions at their house because he was the main issue in this instance. And whether or not we stayed in that game, if she stayed in that game, was something to figure out later. But she then ended up, leaving anyway. She messaged into the group chat for that game saying she was leaving because of personal reasons, which is like, okay, it's because you're personally a cunt, but whatever.
It's a situation where, personally, if I was aware of their interactions with other folks or any people, going forward, I would give them a heads up of who they fucking really are so people can make informed choices to fucking socialize or to work or play with them going forward. Because my concern, and I'm not saying this is something you need to do, it's not something I'm saying.
No, it's actually a really fair point because you may remember that we do actually know someone that knows her.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought about that.
But it's one of those ones where, like, if this is the attitude that she and her husband is starting to take on the violation of someone else's personal space and personal fucking boundaries, regardless of what they deem to be roleplay, any sort of fucking game where roleplay actually is happening, be it in a murder mystery scenario or D&D, they need to know that these people do not respect the boundaries, that the session zero never gets adhered to, and that actual physical repercussions have happened as a result. And while it was only a slight turn of hand here or light this there, and I'm not going to be saying this in a way to mitigate the actual assault is assault regardless of the actual actions and regardless of how far it is taken, it's always still fucking assault. That it's who's to say how far could have went, who's to say how far could have gotten bad, and who's to say how far was it going to be fucking gaslit by them.
And it's also
feel
that
like they weren't even valued and the situation wasn't as bad as it was.
It's also that, like, even though on the scale of, again, I don't have the correct language to...
Why did my camera turn off?
Where did you go?
That's weird. That's the first time it's done that.
I miss you.
I'm back. Or at least I'm trying to get back.
You're working on it. I can see
I'm hitting the button, but, like, the button is...
Yeah, there's also the fact of, like, yes, assault is assault. Because even though for the sake of giving people a content warning for this story, I was like, it's on the low end of the scale. Again, I don't feel like that's I don't know what the fucking right language is, but I think you know what I mean in terms of things that could happen to someone. It's not just about the act, it's also the fact that, like, something could be on the lower end of that scale and still have a huge impact on the person that it happens to. Someone can still be deeply affected by something like that as they would be by something that we would be much, like, you know, that we would be much more inclined to say call the police about, even though EGAB, but you know what I mean. That it's not just about like, okay, what was the act? It's, well, how was the victim affected by the act? In this instance, Laura Marie was largely unaffected, was offended and uncomfortable at the time, but has no, you know, ongoing difficulties as a result. And as I say, is fine with me sharing this story. Is downstairs right now eating prawn stir fry and watching Runaway Bride. But yeah, there, you know, if someone else had been in the position that Laura Marie was in, there's no knowing how deeply they would have been affected by it.
Yeah, and the difference was there as well, is that at least Laura had support structure herself to know that she could fall back and be safe should something happen, and she is also a capable individual who could have acted on her own behalf. But like in a scenario where these two fucks are going around and a different victim might not have the same confidence, the same wherewithal, the same support structures, and these terrible, awful human fucking piles of excrement could essentially potentially put someone in more harm and more danger, because more could have got carried away with if the situation allows it. And I think going forward, anyone who goes to fucking like interact with them in a role-playing scenario, be it the fucking goddamn murder mysteries or be it D&D or be it anything, that people need to know that they do not value human autonomy, they do not value people's personal space, and that even if you set boundaries, they don't give a fuck. And I think that's something people need to know, because that is fucking disgusting.
Yeah, as Hunter says, like, it's fucked up as an initial transgression, but the response to it is painfully telling of their character.
Yeah.
Like, aside from her reacting in that moment of like, oh, I'm fine with it, when then pressed about it by the hairdresser, the fact that the responses were about how like that this is how like roleplay works, that everyone was in character and that was what the characters would do. Like, one, it's a laundry list of things that you hear from problem players when they do something egregious and they're then called on it. But when we normally talk about situations like that on this show, we're talking about tabletop role-playing games, we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons, and that when a problem player does something like that, it is in the context of a game that is described. There's not a physical act accompanying the thing they did that is a problem for everyone else. So this is like even a step beyond that, where it's how can you make that justification? The SLM should have gone and had sex with him in a bedroom upstairs, then because illicit affair, it's in character. We did, Laura Marie and I talked about that, about the idea of like, I bet they are those people that would be absolutely fine with that, which if that's what you're into, knock yourself out. But again, everyone has to be on board. There has to be consent and information and communication. Otherwise, no. Like, it's a perfectly valid way to have a kink, to live your life, do whatever you want, but everyone needs to be on board. Everyone needs to be on the same page. Everyone needs to be having a good time. Otherwise, you've got a problem. So yes, I know that this is quite a heavy way to close out what had been like a quite light show up to this point. I have other stories that I could have told because we've not been here for a while. But I thought it was important to talk about this one because it's important. The other stuff is like, this happened in the game and it was cool and it was fun and it was interesting. And I love talking about that stuff. I will talk about that stuff all day long. But any chance that I get to talk about the idea of how whether it's in a tabletop role-playing game or otherwise. The previous segment was about how fucked the economy. Wouldn't call that light either, to be honest. That is fair. To talk about how we should, when we can, be kind to each other and listen to each other. I want to do that, especially, in the context of what this show is ostensibly about, tabletop role-playing games. They don't function otherwise. They don't work otherwise. And as people have been, as Vampire Winter's lore says, problem players in game or problem players out of game. These people were problem players out of game, which then means I don't want them in game. Like it's the inverse of that. It's very telling whenever people do absurd shit in front of other people and that the wife basically co-signed that behavior. Like it's probably not the first time, and that makes me sick. We talked about that a lot as well, about like that is such a bold fucking move if you think about it, to be at a murder mystery where he didn't know fucking anyone except his wife and those of us from the D&D game that he'd met before. So there was a bunch of strangers there. To, in front of your wife, feel up another woman who is married and whose husband is there under the guise of being in character. You do that if you know your wife's okay with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't take that, where a minor is also present. You don't take that shot unless you're sure of that shot with your wife and that you're safe in that front. Do you know what I mean? Like, the idea, otherwise you'd be like, okay, I'm making a wild choice here to endanger my marriage and everything that is happening in this room right now. So the idea that Sham brought up of like probably not the first time rings really true to me. There has to have been previous instances of some kind of behavior, whether it was in a similar situation or whether it's that they have, kinks or whatever, which again is absolutely fine if everyone's on board with it, that he knew that he was going to be good with his wife about this, that he was confident in that. I don't know. I have a lighthearted hee hee ha ha question, if that's okay to ask. You can certainly ask it. Is it about who was the murderer? Spoiler, it was Laura Murray. He was not the victim. She was, though. Also, to bring us to a slightly nicer place to look towards the end on, there was a funny instance in the evening where we were all having dinner, because it was like murder mystery stuff and then dinner and then end of murder mystery stuff, but there was still some murder mystery stuff happening during the dinner. If you had seen this happen and an altercation had broken out, could you beat his ass? Like, could you take him down asking for a friend? In the state that I was that weekend, no. I was very unwell. Normally, I'm a disabled person, so probably still no. But if I had my cane, now there's a weapon, so who knows? Most of the kink community is huge on consent, yes. Don't think that's what they were doing, or if so, they aren't in those communities, they're just going rogue. Yeah, I'm not suggesting that they're part of any community that is, good. I think they're two people that are just acting off their own fucking wants.
No, it's just two absolute fucking spanners acting like a dickhead.
Yeah, just enabling each other.
That's not kink is. You're right. Kink is 100% huge on consent. It doesn't. It's not considered kink without consent.
Like when I say
baked into it.
When I say kink, I mean like they may have a kink that factors into this somehow, but I don't believe that they should be attributed with that kink. Do you know what I mean? They are not behaving in any way that should be associated with anyone other than themselves and their own despicable actions.
I would, in a very honest capacity, would find it very hard for myself to not excuse myself for a moment, go to the back garden, find the fucking rake, bring it in, and hit him in the fucking face with it. Not even gonna say a word, just literally would have fucking smacked the rake right into his fucking face.
Honestly, do not know what I would have done if I'd seen this happen. I was in a different part of the room in character, talking to other people in character on both these occasions. I didn't see any of this happen. If I had, I truly don't know what I would have done. And I didn't find out until that night when everyone was back in their rooms. So I can't say that I would have been able to be level-headed about it, because I am someone that does consistently work on having a temper. I know that I do, and I really try to work on it. But yeah, we were sitting down for dinner, and every once in a while the woman who was running the murder mystery would come in and pull someone out to basically give them like a secret instruction or a bit of information. And she did that with Laura Marie, who, remember, was the murderer, but no one knew this at the time. And then brought Laura Marie back in, and then pulled me out and said to me, I don't actually have anything for you. I'm just pulling people out to make it look like I'm giving instructions and giving information to get everybody, speculating and talking. Some people are getting stuff, some people aren't. I've just pulled you out so people are talking about it. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And went back in, sat back down next to Laura Marie. And Laura Marie's like, what was that about? And I was like, oh, same thing as you. Under the impression that everyone was being told nothing. And Laura Marie was like, oh, so we're both the murderer. And I was like, well, now what the fuck? Now I know it's you. You've just given the game away. And she was like, what? No, I mean, did you? And I was like, no, you can't save this now. You can't pull this back. I know you're the killer guy. I was just saying, she's telling everybody nothing. I didn't know you're the one person who's getting the information because you're the killer.
Oh god.
So keep that in mind. Like, this was after the previous events as well, so she was in good spirits. She was enjoying it.
Amazing.
Way to play the game. Yeah.
Fucking amazing.
So just keep that in mind. She's absolutely precious.
Fucking brilliant. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. That was fucking fantastic.
It was how excited she was. She was like, so you're the murderer as well. What are the chances that it would be both of us? I was just like, no. It's not. I don't even know if there is two. I just know there's one, and it's you.
Because you'd think if there was two murderers, right? Like there would be like a scenario where like the person running the game would tell both of you who the other murderer is, so you'd be a coordinated roleplay effect, you know?
Nope.
Oh, brilliant.
So yeah, we came away from that weekend. Like we did have some good time while we were there. There was this horrible thing that definitely put a sour note on it, but it wasn't all like a terrible experience. I've gone way the fucking side again. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up to kind of reiterate to everybody, in any, I pulled myself to the side and then leaned all the way over. What the fuck is wrong with me? Any situation, whether it's Dungeons & Dragons, a murder mystery, an improv class, whatever you're doing, make sure to check in with people about what they're okay with, where their lines are. That communication is super important. And we talk about it all the time, but it's super important. Because even if you think I've done that with someone, I've done that work, you need to keep doing it. Because you don't know who is just paying lip service. Well, that one absolute dickhead didn't ruin your Tripolies. I mean, well, there were two absolute dickheads. But There's dickheads everywhere.
It's one that obviously, hopefully going forward, at least the D&D games are going to be smooth. I don't know how you might
D&D games are going to run so much smoother because she was a difficult player to work around anyway.
Yeah.
So on that front, I'm really glad. We're both looking forward to those D&D games more. It's the same as Cake Roleplay. Got to keep having regular check-ins and negotiations beforehand. Yeah, which is why I'm going to revisit some of our safety tool discussion at the start of the next session. Again, I will frame it as being more based on in-game activities than this, but this is what has motivated it. It has reminded me as a DM, like, Session 0 isn't the end of that conversation. That conversation happens regularly and constantly throughout play.
Yeah. It also just goes to show that even a Session 0 is not necessarily... It's a hard thing for me to say, but like Session 0 is not necessarily always going to root out the bad eggs, because the bad eggs might still go for that Session 0 and fucking ignore the core points to take away from it anyway.
And again, this is a specific situation where it's like it didn't actually happen as part of the D&D game. It happened as part of a separate but not totally dissimilar activity.
Mm-hmm.
And he was never part of the Session 0 of the D&D game because he wasn't supposed to be in the game, even though she pushed him into it for one session. So it does make me kind of think, when they were weird the first time, if I had put my foot down more and been like, you're out, would they have still gone to the murder mystery? Would events have still played? Do you know what I mean? You think about what might have happened, but ultimately you have to go, well, no, hang on. Responsibility does not lie with me. It relies with them for being shitty people.
Yeah. And you're not clairvoyant. You can't just know that there's going to be an issue that happens down the line based off like one event that you do months, if not over half a year prior, right? Like that's just not possible to have that clairvoyant perspective. Otherwise we'd all fucking be rich, right?
Yeah. No use getting caught up in what ifs. Yeah, exactly. It's human nature to go down that path to do the what ifs, but it's ultimately unhelpful.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry for dropping a heavy note at the end of the show, but it definitely the most important topic I had to talk about.
It's important. It's one of those ones where, before we even start talking about it, I checked in with you, checked to make sure all the parameters were all grand, to make sure we've done it. I just sometimes forget that even when I know what's coming, or if I understand the themes of what's going to be affected, once I know it's affecting people in my life or people I care about, intellectually
understanding what's coming is not the same as emotionally experiencing it.
I still have inherently problems with wanting to hurt people after it, which is understandable to some extent, but also I understand that like my violence post event, if it's not happening directly at the time of the event, doesn't benefit. And that's the thing I want to make clear, is that like when I say that there's no room for an angry man, it's in a post event scenario. Like an angry man solves nothing in a post event scenario, in the sense of like,
there's no room for a violent man. I think there's room for an angry man. You can feel your emotions.
But that's what I mean. Like angry man. I say an angry man, I'm talking about one who's going to lash out literally maliciously with violence. That does not solve the problem in a post information scenario. Obviously, if there's a situation where you directly see something, you fucking act to prevent it. Stop. But an angry, violent man is not going to be beneficial post scenario, because all you do is invalidate the actual event in a way that creates the perpetrator to become the victim. You put in, and that then means that if you were actually to pursue something against such an individual, you've muddied the waters when it comes to the actual things that can be then pursued against them, because then they can put a victim complex in place to muddy the waters of the actual situation.
Yeah.
And that's something that doesn't benefit the victim at all.
No. I'll tell you when it is a good time for an angry, violent man.
What's that?
When you throw me down on the bed.
Oh my goodness.
I consent.
See.
So yeah, just a reminder, to everybody, check in with your players, check in with your DM as well if you're a player, and keep talking and communicating and making sure that everybody's happy and comfortable and safe, because without any of that stuff, none of the rest of it matters. I think that's probably... I don't know that I have anything else to add on that topic that isn't just repeating.
No. We have like a bit of a weird set schedule coming up for the next few weeks because this is a weird month for me in general. We do plan on having PVD next week as normal time, but then Mr. Johnson's will be away on the week of the 18th, so the PVD schedule for the 18th won't happen as you'll be over in the mainland doing some stuff, and then we're gonna have our last person-in-person PVD on the 25th because that will be the last potential date I will be in this house on Monday.
So I am going to make the trip down to you so that we can be together.
Yeah, so that will happen on the Monday of the 25th, and that will be the last PVD in this house. From that point onward, then it'll be remote here, and then if I do it in person, it'll be up at Johnson's house probably.
Yes, we would need. Well, I would need to figure out
how we do that.
Set up for that, but that is not off the table.
But obviously, in the run up after that, it's hard to say what the next PVD will be after the 25th. I don't think it will be the 1st of April as much as it will.
I would say we can definitely say it will be the 1st of April. You won't be...
I will still need to be setting up my operation there and seeing what streaming setup looks like there. I mean, like, it's one of those ones, once I get the equipment into the room and set up, it's fine, that's good to go. It's just more so like
it's tweaking things like lighting and sound. Like, there's things that need to be done beyond just where does everything go, and it's that stuff that takes ages. So just a heads up, this is going to be the weird funny month for it, guys. So even my normal live stream consistency after this week is probably going to be up and down like a hers knickers. So there's no guarantee I'll get like a full week of streaming done after this week or even this week in general, just because at that point it'll be me going and categorizing and figuring out what needs to go into the dump and piecemeal moving stuff out of this house and all the fun stuff that comes with that. It's now the action month, so that's cool. That's what I got to look forward to. I'm still kind of bunged up. You can probably hear Shan. I'm still kind of like... I'll bung you up.
So I'm still kind of like all fucking bunged up in my nose and whatnot at the minute. So tail end of that, doing a hell of a lot better than I was last week, where at one point I couldn't fucking move outside of like a small confined ball in the bed, because if I did I would have froze to death. So yeah, so stuffy. I'm very stuffy. So yeah, obviously you're hopefully having a return to some streaming this week as well.
Yes, I want to get back to it this week. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like because my sleep schedule is really messed up at the minute. Hopefully tomorrow. I've had some preliminary conversations with Laura Marie about the idea of like the nights where I straight up can't sleep, whether me streaming would disturb her while she's sleeping or not, because it's like I could use that time. But I obviously don't want to disturb her sleep by talking, so it's like maybe I do some chill streams that are very quiet and we see how it goes. Hi Frank. Yes. But yeah, this week back to streaming. Definitely going to try corralling the Coral Island again.
Trying to think what you could do to try and eliminate noise. I mean, like just putting acoustic treatment maybe on the doors or something, because I don't know where your stream room is pertaining to your bedroom is. I don't know if there's a block of space or anything that's between that, like the stairs or something.
I mean, you've been here. You've been in the room.
Yeah, so like
was the stream room. So if you think, you know the way you came up the stairs and turned right to come round to this room?
And there's the bathroom.
If you go the other way round to the left, it's like the bedroom is on the opposite side of the stairs to the stream room. So she wears earplugs when she's in bed. Just talking about you. You alright? Okay. She wears earplugs when she's in bed, so it's like we could close the bedroom door and I could close this door over, and I could, instead of doing like the big streamer voice thing, I could give it a bit more of an ASMR feel.
Know what you do?
Be very chill and relaxed.
Know what you do? You get the mic arm, put the mic on the mic arm, and then you can bring that bad boy closer so that when you're talking this here, it's still quite loud.
A mic arm for that to work.
So you just be like this. You're talking low, but even though you're talking low, the stream still hears you quite loud because you're so close to the mic.
I don't have a mic arm, so I could stream like this, and I could just be very close to the microphone and talk all gentle and soft.
But still quite loud.
Just a forehead stream.
Yeah.
Are those a thing? Are they popular?
I see one regularly, but not one on Twitch anyway.
I'm not gonna ask because I already know the answer. Do you sleep with your bedroom door open or closed? Normally open. Otherwise, our ghoul's gonna come in.
Oh, 100% closed. I have my bedroom closed.
You're missing out on the ghouls there, son.
What do you mean? What does that mean? I think
on that mysterious note, we maybe leave it there. Open, psychopath, absolutely. I have a cat who wants to come see me in the night.
Yeah, that's fair. You get visitors.
Mm-hmm. Also, sexy ghouls.
Sexy ghouls as well. But yes, obviously you want to check out John says. What I would do is check out the links. It just dropped into the player. Look, how'd that happen? Wild. It's like I pressed one button on my keyboard and it done it because I already typed it out. But yes, you can check him out on his twitch.tv/JohnSense, or you can on the rare occasions that he actually puts anything on Twitter, you can check out his Twitter as well. Why am I getting shouted at? Why am I being shouted at right now? Why do they always do this? Why do my mods always shout me out? I'm on stream right now, and I am. But yes, so hopefully, if everything goes. So is John says getting one? Okay, fair enough. But obviously, you're hopefully going to be playing in Coral Island then over the week. I assume their normal start times are in 12. UK time.
Like I say, because my sleep schedule's messed up, I don't know exactly what start and finish times will look like, but keep an eye out and we'll see what happens. Cool. Just gonna hit it as I hit it and see where we go this week.
Nice. I love it when he hits it as he hits it. I'll probably, if I don't get any like major disturbances this week, I will have my normal start time, which will be around like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon Ireland time, UK time, and then probably go into 9 o'clock like I've been doing, unless some magically wonderful awful scenario happens where then I'm torn away, because I'm a carer and sometimes that happens. I have to be flexible. For example, I have to be flexible on Friday to bring my parents' dog Roxy to the vet to get her hair trimmed and to also have the vet stick a finger up her bum. So it's one of those ones where that's gonna be a fun Friday for me. So yeah,
to be fair, I go to the vets to get all that done anyway.
It's just as well as your wife works at a vet. Yeah, probably the most least sexy D&D to this date.
I will say that I did have a monster ready in case we found we had time for it.
We discovered bigger monsters to fucking talk about this week.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the picture now. Save it for next week.
Fair. What the fuck, Shan? I wasn't expecting that reaction.
At least she's checking first.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. I have no problem. I have no problem. Consent is being established. I just wasn't expecting her to say that.
Well, I'm going to go so you can have this conversation because I don't feel like I should be party to it.
Fair.
All right, thank you very much, guys. I know it's been a bit of a different episode, but we're kind of getting back to it and just had something important to talk about. So hope you all enjoyed it. And keep looking good because you're feeling good. And we hate to leave, but we love you. And until next time, hey, how was that? Did I do the spiel correctly?
I guess. I don't know anymore.
Fantastic. There we go.
Yeah.
Bye.
Everything he said. Bye? Question mark?
Are we live yet?
Yeah, no, we're not live yet.
Oh.
We're actually gone now. Bye.
Okay.